What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new live episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey! You don't quite have that, like, that Shannon McClung, buddies!
Yeah.
Like he's a little Scottish pirate.
Or the early morning one. Buddies.
That's me, Kathleen Turner. Yeah, that one.
For sure. And speaking of our friend Shannon McClung, he is coming back from his honeymoon today, so we don't know if we're going to get Shannon to pop in and do a cameo at some point during the show, but we are live here on the show. We're excited to get into so many topics that are going on in the world of entertainment. We've got a bunch of trailers to talk about, like Knuckles and the Moana 2 trailer or teaser trailer, and then we got a Quiet Place Day 1 trailer. We got to get into the Coyote versus Acme situation, Bob Iger slowing down Marvel production. What does that mean? Making all these comments about Star Wars movies. We got the Kevin Conroy controversy we're going to touch upon as well. Some news around the Prey sequel, which somebody might have broken some details on this channel a couple of months ago. We've also got, what else have we got? Oh, Donald Glover talking about Lando, where he's at on that, and so much going on in the world of entertainment. And I'm going to just go, just toss this stuff out. Vogel and I are going to go back and forth and have fun with it. Our Streamlabs and Superchats are open, don't forget. So send in your Streamlabs Super Chats as we go along. But some of you might be new to our show for the first time. Maybe you like the headline, you like the thumbnail, you're jumping in. So let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies. And I'm wondering why everybody's talking about all this sports stuff in the chat, guys.
Are they? What
sports stuff? Sports stuff. Right before we hopped on, they were talking about.
Oh,
I guess there's a bowl this weekend. All I know is I'm going over to a friend's house to eat a lot of really bad food and watch the Deadpool 3 spot. That's
yes.
Really, and we'll see if Taylor Swift makes it there in time. That's what I'm doing on Sunday. And there's a football game around it.
Oh, what you're saying makes it from Japan to the football game, not to y'all's get together.
No, Taylor. No. Like, listen. Taylor Swift has better places to be than her Super Bowl party.
I know the reach of our friend. It is a possibility, maybe. But yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to join you guys because I appreciate the invitation, but I got to stay here and work. I'm going to be reacting to trailers, reacting to spots, and what have you here, and of course, probably doing a post reaction to the Super Bowl on the channel. So no rest for the weary here as we go along in the days leading up to the Super Bowl for sure, which is this Sunday. The lady is going out of town for 7 days starting this Sunday to house sit for her sister. So I will have the run of the house walking around in my boxer briefs and pizza. That's basically it for a 24-hour period.
Wear pizza?
Hey, man, if I could. Hey, if Lady Gaga can wear a meat dress and Miley Cyrus can wear a dress of gold paper clips or whatever with safety pins, I'm thinking I can get away with a pizza suit. I think, don't you?
Pizza suit, okay.
Just throwing it out.
Sounds tasty.
All right, well, let's get into stuff. We got a lot going on. As I said, we're seeing already some incredible super chats coming through. Send them in. The Streamlabs address is pinned in the chats in the description of the video, and one day it's going to be up on the graphics there on our channel and or on our show, and you guys will even have access to it easier and easier as well. But is it today National Pizza Day? Well, I'll be damned. I did not know that, Mike. So today is National. By the way, what do you have on the sign?
Get your pizza suits, everybody. Get those pizza suits.
What do you have on the sign behind your head? What is that?
This sign right here.
What's it say? Yeah, what's it say?
It doesn't say anything. It is $6 bills.
Oh.
That my brother had made for me a couple Christmases ago.
Yeah.
And he found an artist who would actually paint things on the dollar bills. Ooh. And he picked 6 characters that represent who I am and what I've done.
Wow.
So we have a Superman dollar bill. We have a Woody from Toy Story dollar bill.
That makes sense.
We have a Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony dollar bill. We have a Strawberry Shortcake dollar bill. We have a Sully from Monsters, Inc. dollar bill. And we have a Captain America dollar bill. Those are the $6 bills that make up a Vogel.
Yeah, I think I would agree with all those choices, for God's sake. So, yeah, okay, that's cool. I would like to get that. That's a great idea. I wonder what 6 characters I might have on my dollar bill.
Well, George Costanza's one of them.
You know what? Larry David is back. Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm excited for it. All right. I don't want to jump into the Coyote versus Acme story right off the bat. Let's work into that first, Mike. Let's talk about, let's see. What do we want to hit on? Let's start with this Lando story. I don't know if you saw this, but Donald Glover has been talking about the level of control he is going to have for this project. And he was talking to the Hollywood Reporter about this. And he said he agreed to the singular vision for this project. And he said, quote, I feel like I have enough control, and maybe you get painted as a control freak, but it's like, yeah, control allows for the vision to be singular. And if the vision is singular, people want it more. The less it's singular, the less people want it because they feel like they could have made it. Look, we live in a time where anybody can fucking make anything. You go on TikTok, there's literally every type of thing. There's documentary, puppetry, yarn, stop motion. So why would you want to see something you feel like you could have made? So it's interesting comments here, Mike, when you break down what he said. Is essentially saying he wants nobody to mess with what he's trying to do here. We saw what happened with that Deadpool thing he was working on with his brother. Atlanta seems very much singularly his voice, along with the director who's directed the majority of the episodes. What are your thoughts when you hear this about the Lando situation here and him having singular vision? Because a lot of the complaints are that Kathleen Kennedy gets in there. Filoni might now, with his new position, might get in there. Do you think he's telling the truth about all of this?
I mean, I think he is telling the truth, mainly if you're reading some of the stuff that's coming out about Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon Prime. You know, that was supposed to be Donald Glover and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And they very clearly made a split. Phoebe Waller-Bridge talked about it several months ago. I think she compared it to a marriage that was breaking up. And I think Donald Glover recently in an interview kind of touched on it too, and also talked about it like this divorce. And, you know, both of them pretty clearly, he was like, you can't have two captains. And both he and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, kind of to your point, are two people that, given their bodies of work, are known for their singular visions.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Atlanta, you look at Fleabag, you look at how they've sort of developed their personas, Donald Glover through his music as well, Phoebe Waller-Bridge through like the work that she's been doing. And you saw these two people that were very opinionated come together to try and make something over here on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And they did not work well together. Yeah. And ultimately, and you know, he says in that interview, had Phoebe Waller-Bridge really wanted to keep going and pursue, he would have let her, but she kind of was like, I'm out. And he was like, cool, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Yeah. And so here with Lando, he's kind of saying the same thing. And I think, you know, Donald Glover is one of those personalities that I think that if Kathleen Kennedy came in and said no, he's in a unique position. He's in a different position than like Lord and Miller on Solo or any other director behind the scenes. And he's in a unique position because everybody loves him as Lando Calrissian. Right. So as Lucasfilm is looking at, let's do cool stuff, but let's also make sure we're doing things that we know the fans are good with. Yeah. Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian is one of those rare Star Wars things that pretty much all the fans were all like, you know, we can all argue about a lot of things in Star Wars, but everyone's like, no, Donald Glover's a good Lando. Done. He's good. So he's in a unique position because if he was just behind the scenes, if he was I'm the writer director, and they had some other big star playing Lando, and he was really pushing a vision that maybe made Kathleen Kennedy a little worried, made Bob Iger worried, and they were like, we don't want you to do it. They could remove him and do the same thing they've done with several other people. Right. But you can't remove him from being Lando. And so he's in a unique position where he can kind of be like, this is the Lando Calrissian I'm making. And if you don't like it, fuck off.
Well, he was getting, you know, I love it, the Atlanta series, but I know with Swarm and a little bit in the Atlanta series, he was getting some pushback and some angry responses to some of the decisions he made with some of the female characters. Here we go with a character like Lando, who is a notable ladies' man. I mean, that's been a big deal. That's why you cast Billy D. Williams originally. You know, he had that aura about him, and then Donald Glover's work on Solo leaned into that a little bit with how he communicated with certain people. So do you think that this is something like with his singular vision, do you think he wanted to make it clear, like, I want to live and die by what I'm doing here. And if you want to criticize it, they can, or not criticize it, whatever. But I don't want to answer to anybody else in this situation. Yeah. And I know there's criticism, but I'm going to do it my way. And Kathleen, who keeps saying that she wants this series and wants to see what it leads to, seems very clear that she is kind of stepping out of his way to let him do. This is a unique situation, Mike.
Yeah.
Overall, right? Not just because he's playing both characters, not because he's playing the character and directing, but also because he's getting this kind of latitude from Disney in the Star Wars side, which they haven't always given to any of the directors.
It'll be, I mean, I think to your point,
yeah,
we'll all either like it or we won't, or some of us will like it and some of us will hate it. It'll be what it'll be. But I think in his case, it'll be what he wanted it to be.
Right.
And that's kind of what he's saying, both in the Lando interview and as the stuff is coming out on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He's kind of like, look, this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And everybody's making shit. And if I'm going to make shit, I'm going to make shit that I want.
Do you think this signals a sea change, though? Do you think this opens because I mean, again, one of the criticisms has been the Kathleen candidate people about. Do you think with Filoni now taking over, does this more of kind of keeping the hands off of this stuff, or do you think this is just a unique situation for Donald Glover?
I think it's a unique situation just because he's the person in front of the camera and he's the one who's sort of creatively driving things behind the camera. So it's a lot harder to remove him.
Gotcha.
I don't know that it all of a sudden means that, I mean, and Filoni is also a unique thing because he basically went to George Lucas University, got his diploma from Professor Lucas, and has that seal of approval. So everyone's kind of like, all right, like he gets to do it because that's what it is, and we'll see how he does. So I don't know that this represents a sea change per se, but I do think that it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, to what you were saying about Lando being a ladies' man, I'm pretty sure, I might be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure when Solo came out, Donald Glover said more or less that Lando was a ladies' man and a man's man.
Yeah, fair point. Yes. And a computer man.
And he fucked a droid.
And he's a droid dude. Yeah.
So he fucked a droid. So I think that what I think will be really interesting is if that remains true, it's just from how do you handle a character like Lando? If Lando was going around and just sleeping with women left and right, you could see a lot of ways how that could go down a uncomfortable road in 2024.
Yeah, nowadays. Yeah.
If Lando is sleeping with men and women left and right,
Android.
It's a lot. I think we're kind of good. So I think that, but I think that there's this might surprise you, but there is a section of Star Wars fans on social media who won't be a big fan of that. So it'll be interesting to see if that is something that he does. And because he's getting to do his singular vision, Disney and Lucasfilm let him do. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Lando series is going to be, it's either going to be a big mess or it's going to maybe give a big shot of freshness and adrenaline into the Star Wars franchise. So we'll see.
I like that. I like this comment from Haunted_Autumn. Lando would totally buy the Dune popcorn bucket. Yes, he would.
Guys, I went on a date. I'm going to tell you a story. I went on a date last weekend to go see Mean Girls.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of rosé at brunch before I went to the theater.
Okay.
And I announced in the concession line to the lady at the Grove, the poor lady, I was like, you need to do something with that Dune popcorn bucket. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, it looks like a very uncomfortable sex toy. And the guy I was on the date with elbowed me because there was a family with children right next to me. And when I had a couple of drinks, I'm a little too loud. But it does look like a very uncomfortable sex toy.
Yeah, it does. Very uncomfortable. I don't have, all I thought is vaginal dentata, and it's a bad image to have in my mind. So we'll see. We'll see as we get closer to the Donald Glover series coming out, what that looks like, and if it happens, everything with Star Wars is
Star Wars. We'll see if we see it, or given where Hollywood is at right now, even if they film it all, maybe we won't see it. So who knows?
That's true. We'll get into that story in just a second. Let's move on to one other story before we get into that, and that is the Jurassic World story. I don't know if you heard this, Mike, but David Leitch had been in talks to direct the next installment of the Jurassic World franchise. And it had been a bit of a tight window, I think, coming out on July 2nd of 2025. So like this seemed like a pretty tight window to throw a director into. And of course, he's directed Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Bullet Train. But the reports are today that the talks fell through. So he is no longer going to be directing this next installment in the Jurassic World franchise. So what are your thoughts when you hear this, that David Leitch has been moved off of this, or the talks fell through rather? Who do you think would be an interesting choice? And if you need more time on that one, you can take more time on that one. Well, just throwing it out. What do you think about this story? Did you like the choice? And now are you surprised that the talks fell through in essence?
It really is. All I can think of is Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park 1 going, you were so focused on whether or not you could do it that you didn't stop to think if you should do it. And that is, I think, where we are currently at with the Jurassic Park franchise. Like, after Jurassic Park Dominion,
yeah,
what the fuck else can they do?
That's true.
Like, what? Like, come on. What are we even doing, guys? Yeah. And like, I say that, and I know that I am guilty, and I will say this now so that we can pull up this footage a year from now when whoever is directing the movie is directing it and a trailer comes out. They will release a trailer. Mm-hmm. There will be dinosaurs in the trailer.
Yes.
They will play that music.
Oh, yeah.
And I will go, I'm probably going to go see this movie. I will keep going because I love Jurassic Park that much, but it's just, what else can they do? Now, aside from that, director choice, like, if they're going to do anything with the franchise, you need someone really great. You need someone that is going to come in and who is a storyteller, because they've sort of run it into the ground at this point. So I need someone who comes in and goes, guys, I loved Jurassic Park, the first movie, and I want to get back to that magic, and here's what I want to do, and comes up with a real zinger of an idea. Mm-hmm. He's not the guy that's going to do that.
No. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
He's going to have some cool action.
Yeah. But he's not going to tell the human story as effectively as like the first movie did, right? And that I tweeted this out, that's the thing that was missing from the last 3 installments. And look, the last one made $1 billion, right? But it's been a bit of a law of diminishing returns in terms of the amount that they've made since that first Jurassic World, not Jurassic Park movie, Jurassic World movie, the most recent trilogy. And there's a reason Universal, they want to go in another direction. It's because although they like the money, they are getting destroyed by critics and some fans of the franchises for the quality of these films. So do you think they want to go something smaller? That's why they went to David Leitch? Because he doesn't do big budget.
They don't want to go smaller. Okay. Universal, if they could figure out how to do a Jurassic Fast and Furious movie together, they would do it. Like they would do it. Like they are like this is their big, to your point. It still makes money. It's in the theme parks. They're determined to keep Jurassic Park going. Mm-hmm. But I mean, when you really look at it, and look, Jurassic Park 1, maybe one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. The movie that like changed cinema with the advent of digital graphics and what they could do with CG technology. Like Jurassic Park was a game changer and like a kick-ass Spielberg film. Yeah. Jurassic Park 2, particularly in retrospect, now that we have the Jurassic World movies, is not nearly as bad as a lot of people thought it was when it came out. Like you put on Jurassic Park 2 and it's a fun ride. It's not as good as Jurassic Park, but compared to what we've gotten to, it is cinema. Yeah. Jurassic Park 3 is not cinema, but it's fine. It's fine. Cute. They're on Joe Johnston. It's fine. Yeah. Jurassic World is a great idea. Jurassic World was an A+ idea. Yeah. It's years later. The world is not going to let this go. We figured it out. We opened the park. We did it the right way. There's people in the park. We're doing a disaster movie at a theme park. Like, it was a great idea, just didn't really go anywhere. And then the 2 after that, just the less said, the better. Yeah. I don't know what you do here, because this is a great point that MK Songbird is bringing up, because on the Heat Vision on THR, what they also wrote is that Universal is so far along on the project that Leitch would essentially have been more of a shooter
than someone who could have really put his stamp on the film. So now we're reduced to, I mean, if you're going to make all these changes and want to go in a whole new direction, and then the whole new direction is we've already got this thing figured out. We just need someone to come in and shoot it and put a little bit of flair, a little stank on it, but not too much of a stank on it, and just put it out there. So
I'm sure that's exactly what they said in the meeting too.
Yeah, maybe.
Could you put some stank on this? We'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Put your flair on it. So now that this is out there, as a director, who wants to step in this kind of situation and do this? This seems to remove your artistic approach to it.
You know, I mean, here's where, I mean, there's not what they're going to do, but like, this is the world we live in, for better or for worse. And there's pros and cons to it, depending on the franchise. But because of the Kevin Feige syndrome, when you have these big franchises, the studios and the executives and everybody are a little bit more like they're in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, come in and finish cooking this thing that we don't know. We put a bunch of things in the bowl, but how does the oven work? I don't know. And they bring someone in, and the person's like, fuck, I'll cook this as best I can, but I don't know what the fuck they put in this bowl. Like, that's kind of like where we're at. So, but like one of the things that you do, if you're wanting to take a risk, is you do find someone who is like a younger up and comer who would come in and
not a bad idea.
Take whatever's in the bowl and go, look, this is my shot.
Yeah, right.
And maybe they're gonna do some stuff with it that's going to take your phrase, put some stank on it. But I don't know. You know, it's like, but I really do think that, you know, we did a Geek Bite this week about kind of where Marvel's at and where all these big franchises are at. And we talked a lot about like emotional storytelling, and we talked a lot about kind of what's missing from the franchises that we love. And I think a lot of times when you're looking at these big franchises and what are we doing to keep them going, and we need to make them bigger, and who are we getting the star in it, and who are we doing, like, it really is the basics that are getting lost.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help that if you as a studio say we're going to go in a whole new direction, we're going to really kind of we love this franchise, we want to reboot it or restart it in a certain way, and then you've done all the work, and then just want to hire a director for hire, in essence. That isn't where you're actually making a difference in how you're approaching it, which is kind of scary to think about when you look at a big franchise like this, which has so many people who love it. How do you not go out there and go find a visionary director? I mean, you could go look at the guy who did Godzilla -1. What's his schedule like? J.J. Abrams is a possibility. I saw some people mentioning that. Dan Trachtenberg, we're going to talk about here in a little bit for the Prey stuff. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that's available for people to possibly, or directors out there for them to possibly look at, to come in and give a vision to it. And this seems like antithetical to that approach overall.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you something else, just not for nothing, as for you Jurassic Park fans out there. You know what actually is surprisingly good? Camp Cretaceous on Netflix. Like, and I mean,
that's the series, right? The animated series.
It's the animated CG series. Kind of takes place, the first season kind of takes a place parallel at the same time-ish as Jurassic World. But for all that I thought that was going to be kind of a who cares, like, compelling characters, interesting backstories, and did cool stuff with the dinosaurs that I hadn't quite seen before. And I'm not saying that necessarily would work for live action, that they should adapt that, but it was kind of proof to me that there is still good story potential in the franchise. It's just in what they were doing at DreamWorks Animation when they did it, like, they were kind of finding fun stuff, and the movies have not.
Yeah, I just don't think this is the route. Go in and already figure out the story and do all the legwork, then hand it off to a director. That just doesn't make sense. Work with the director from the beginning so that you have a unique, singular vision of how you're kind of reimagining this franchise and have fun with it. So, it just doesn't make sense how they're doing it, for sure. All right, let's hit one last story before we take a quick break, and then we'll jump into the Coyote versus Acme story. We got 225 of you joining us live. Thank you very much for joining us live. Make sure you hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. But let's move on to this Dan Trachtenberg story. We're mentioning him already here, Mike, and this is having to do with the Prey sequel. This was being reported today that a new Predator movie is in the works here from 20th Century Studios and filmmaker Dan Trachtenberg, who earned an Emmy nomination for his 2022 Predator movie, Prey. Here, this will supposedly be titled Badlands. It is not a direct sequel to Prey, which was set in 1719. The details are being kept under wraps for now, but there are stories coming out that it will be set sometime in the future and will have some kind of connection to Amber Midthunder's character from the first movie. And just to give a little bit of background, one of the new segments I've been doing on my shows is called Rocha's Rumors. And I have a couple of sources that I've developed over the last few months of people who are inside. And a couple of months ago, I got this tip from them. I'm going to play it for you guys right now, and we can have a conversation about it here in a second. What my source is hearing about the Prey sequel is that it might be based in World War II with a Native American soldier who is a Navajo code talker and will be a descendant of Amber Midthunder's character from the first film. And that'd be real interesting if that's where they go with that. Because, I was in Wind Talkers, that film that John Woo directed with Nicolas Cage and Christian Slater, Adam Beach, Francis O'Connor, and Stellan Skarsgård, or not Stellan, Peter Stormare. And although the film isn't 100%, isn't the best film, but I'm still proud to be in it. What I learned from it was so much about the Navajo code talkers. And I have a book on them somewhere in my library of books. It is a fascinating experience. And I think this would be a great idea for a sequel for Prey. Rather than a direct sequel, you go decades later, and it is someone who has had the story of Amber Midthunder's character passed on through multiple generations. And this person is now confronting the aliens, having heard the story. Maybe this person even questioned the validity of these stories, but also is a Navajo code talker, so involved in World War II. So there's all kinds of things that go on here between the battles versus the aliens and the battles versus the Nazis and the Japanese in World War II, because that's where the Navajo code talkers really came into play, was in those battles in Japan and in the Pacific. So could be very interesting to go that route. I kind of like that idea. Do you like that idea? Do you like the Navajo code talker? Do you like the possibility it's set in World War II? What are your thoughts on this? What are you doing right now?
I like that we're cutting to video now. Like, we're like all fancy. Look at you.
I'm trying
to do this video. Look out. Put on the pizza suit and go. This guy is killing it. I think this is great. And because I think that as we were just talking about the Jurassic Park franchise and what can they do to like revive it. And, we've had multiple Predator movies, and when Prey came out, pretty much resoundingly, everybody was like, fuck, finally, like this is a Predator movie.
Right.
And I think when we talked about this several months ago, we were talking about, it seemed because of the post-credit sequence that if they were going to make another one, it might just pick up from there and the more Predators come and attack the village. And you could there is a compelling argument on a direct sequel.
Yes.
But we also did say that this was kind of proof that you could kind of take the Predator and put it anywhere. You can put the Predator in ancient Rome. You can put the Predator in the Old West. You can put the Predator in the Incan Empire. Like, it doesn't matter. The whole concept of the Predator works, and putting the Predator with these warriors from different time periods. So this kind of feels like maybe the best of both worlds. Like, this is we showed you the Predator in North America fighting indigenous tribes. Now we're going to show you the Predator in World War II.
Right.
Completely different scenario, completely different levels of technology, levels of weaponry, coming into the middle of a giant war. Like, the potential for what you can do with a Predator is huge, but having a tie to Prey, and kind of, if that is kind of the game that they're going to play, which is, we're going to treat this Predator movies at this point almost like an anthology franchise. So we can hop around and we're going to keep moving forward to different points in history and different parts of the globe, but we're always going to have that thin thread that kind of connects these stories. That's cool.
Yeah.
And this is how you reinvigorate a franchise.
Yeah.
This is what they're doing over here on Predator.
Yeah.
Is what Universal needs to be looking at with Jurassic Park. Not that they need to all of a sudden go back and go, hey, it's a raptor in Native American times. Like, that makes no sense. But this is a very different flavor for the Predator movies. Whereas, like, what they kept doing before was, like, how do we sort of relive the magic of what the original was? And let's kind of do that over and over. This is a very different thing, but it works.
Yeah. I mean, this is, and like, you know, as I said, occasionally sources come to me and they have stuff, and if it seems right to me, I will talk about it on one of my shows. And when I heard this, or when I was sent this, I immediately was like, this sounds genius to set it at that time. Because why was Predator set? Why was Prey set at the time that it was set? Because the Predator, in a way, symbolizing the colonialism. Who is the real monster here? Who are the real creatures trying to kill, trying to destroy, trying to take? Right now, we go to the Nazis. You can, in essence, make that comparison to the colonial, what was happening in colonial times, trying to take over Native American land. Here, the Nazis trying to take over the world. Right, so there's comparisons that you can make with having the Predator there as well, and having that kind of weave in and out of the whole situation. And there's always that kind of weird thing around Nazis, right? The Indiana Jones movies takes advantage of that with the mysticism and the religious stuff and the demonic stuff. So it wouldn't be out of the realm possibility to have some kind of alien creature come down in the middle of all this madness and be a part of this. And then it just gets lost to history. And also the idea of UFO and aliens. This is becoming massive now in our culture. People are covering it, talking about it. There's hearings in Congress. So even more so, it seems like a topical decision to put it at this time and still keep it with the Native American vibe that they presented in Prey, but weave it into actual real world stuff that is going on in our world now and was going on back in World War II. So I love this idea, and it's an exciting idea if it does come to pass, you know. So yeah,
I'm really, I'll also say, just, I know before we hop in the break, like,
sure.
Given what they've done with Prey, and that Prey is going to get a sequel, and if this is the direction, we don't know if it is or not, but if it is, it sounds cool. It really makes me excited for what they're going to do with the Alien franchise as well.
Oh yeah.
I forget. I think the name was just released, or I just read what the name of the new alien was, like Romulus. It's a weird name.
Romulus. Yes.
Alien Romulus, which doesn't make me overly excited, but just given the freshness they brought to the Predator franchise, and given my extreme dislike for Prometheus and Covenant, I would be really, really thrilled to see the Alien franchise get a similar shot in the arm.
Yeah, this seems to be the path that a lot of these franchises may need to be walking here in the future, Mike. You know, Iger, which we're going to get to a little bit later in the show, he said very clearly they're going to pull back the budgets. They're going to space this stuff out. And clearly these budgets hit some kind of wall, especially after the $370 million for the latest Fast and the Furious movie, which is a ridiculous budget. That they've hit some kind of wall here, and now it's time to yank it back. And Prey did such a great job that it showed these studios maybe that there is a path to walk here, that we can spend a little amount of money and still get a very big reaction from fans of the franchise. Now, it'll be curious to see if this one comes out in theaters, Michael, because remember, this one only came out on Hulu. So a lot of people said that they should have released it in theaters. Do you think they'll go that route because of the reaction to the first movie?
It's hard to say, because I believe that if Prey had come out in theaters, it would have done really well.
Yeah.
But also, Prey did really well for Hulu.
Yes, right.
So,
100%.
Like it, and again, per our Geek Bite this week, where we kind of talked about kind of the challenge, like, this is part of the problem with, not the problem, it's part of where the entertainment industry is right now and what they're struggling with, which is they really want us to be subscribing to their streamers. Yeah. But they also really want us to go to the movie theaters.
Right.
And figuring out that balance. I mean, you know, I was just reading an article today because, you know, their Pixar and Disney are releasing the Pixar movies that went straight to Disney Plus throughout the pandemic. So Soul, Luca, Turning Red for a limited time in theaters.
Yeah.
But I think it's because a little bit, like, I think they hurt the Pixar brand a little bit with so many of them going straight to the streamer. So I think they kind of overshot that. So they're just trying to figure out that chemistry of what things can we get people excited about here and there. And so does that mean that the Predator franchise becomes a streaming thing only? Yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, when it comes to Predator, which is a franchise that I've loved since I was a kid, if they just kept putting those on Hulu and the quality stayed what Prey was, fine. Yeah. I'm good. Yeah. Like, fine.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. It'd be interesting to see if Amber Midthunder shows up in some way, shape, or form. Apparently, they're taking meetings with actors now to decide who they want to cast and where they want to go with this film. So if they're already taking meetings with actors, that means we've got ourselves somewhat of a finished script. We should be going into production sometime soon, so I'll be curious to see. All right, well, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll talk the Coyote versus Acme situation, and we'll answer a few of your Streamlabs before we jump into more topics here. Send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats right now if you want us to answer them here live on the show. We'll give you credit, say your name, put your handle up there. Come on, it's all love. And we'll be right back right after this.
Yeah,
good stuff.
And then an anvil falls on Rocha's head.
Why is it my head? Why? Okay, fine.
Listen, which one of us is Bugs Bunny and which one of us is Daffy? Let's just be real.
I am not Daffy. I'll take Yosemite Sam, but I won't take Daffy.
I'll take your Daffy Duck.
All right, let's move on. All right, let's talk about this Coyote versus Acme situation, which is the title of our episode here. This broke today, Mike, and brought to you by Drew Taylor over at The Wrap. Fantastic writer. If you guys aren't following Drew Taylor, you need to be. I think it's at Finely Tailored, and follow his stuff that he writes for The Wrap. Great writer. And he was talking about the Coyote versus Acme situation. And apparently he mentions here that in early January, Chris Stefaria, who is a producer on the film, got a call from Warner Brothers saying from one of the execs telling him that they just want to get this Coyote versus Acme situation behind them and they want to close the books. Remember that Warner Brothers, it was leaked, or it was announced that they were essentially going to take a tax write-off, which was the second time they'd done this because of the Batgirl situation. But the reaction and the fact that there had been screenings ahead of time, there was pressure on them to take meetings and what have you. So they walked it back, and they had Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount screen the movie. Apparently, according to Drew, they submitted, quote, handsome offers. Paramount even proposed a theatrical release component to this, which is what people were complaining about, like put it out in theaters that would allow Warner Brothers to save face and let the audience see the movie. Warner Brothers, though, stood to make $35 to $40 million on the tax write-down. So they wanted somewhere in the vicinity of $75 to $80 million from any buyer that was going to take on the film. And they wouldn't allow the interested studios to counter Warner Brothers' offer. It was essentially take it or leave it. And here's the most insane part of this. Apparently, none of the main executives involved in this saw the finished movie. David Zaslav has still not seen the finished movie. Abdi and DeLuca, Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, who are from the WB Motion Picture Group, they're the co-chair people, they saw a director's cut, and Bill Damashke only saw a cut here from the final version of the movie, but not the finished version of the movie. So this is kind of crazy on this, Mike, because it seems like they rigged the game from the beginning, and now they're going to let this thing die because they're about to open their books for February 23rd and the end of the quarter. So your thoughts on all of this, Mike, as a person who loves animation, B, as a person who loves Looney Tunes, but C, as an animation executive yourself, an executive producer on numerous projects. When you read a story like this, what occurs to you in this moment?
That it just sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's so hard to get something made. I mean, I talk to my friends all the time. I have friends right now who are at all different levels of development. They're writing pilots. They're hoping the pilot gets picked up to series so they can get a writer's room and write all the scripts. And then if they write all the scripts, they hope that it goes into production.
Yeah.
And once a show gets greenlit and goes into production, that used to mean, hey, your show's going to be on the air. Maybe you're not getting a season 2. Maybe people aren't going to watch it. Maybe it's going to die in the ratings and it's going to be a disaster, but it's going to be out there.
Yeah.
And it's going to live or die on mostly its own merits. And now that you're like, hey, they loved your pilot. They picked you up you got to write your scripts. You went to series. You shot the stuff. You did the thing. Or in this case, that you shot the movie.
Yeah.
You got it done. We finished the movie. We had a rap party. We all got really drunk and made bad decisions at the rap party because we were so happy that we finished. Nah, we're not doing anything with it. We're going to delete it.
Yeah. Delete it is what the article says, that they may just quietly delete it so that it's not even remotely possible to be stolen or leaked or whatever.
Yeah, and and in the case of this one particularly, like, again, the sources that you've heard, I think, have said this. Like, I've heard this from people that it's actually good.
Yeah.
Like, look, the Batgirl thing was a fucking mess, and we're all upset about it.
There's a lot of moving pieces.
Let's be honest. Given the last few DC movies we've seen, and some of what we were hearing about, which Batman are we using? Oh, no, it's fine. It's good. Like, it just sounds like when I hear that Batgirl movie was a mess, although I am curious and would love to see it, I'm pretty sure it was probably bad. Like, maybe it wasn't, but I personally think probably that was not good.
Okay.
Everything that I've heard about this is that it's good. I've heard that it's a good movie, that it's funny, that it gets Looney Tunes in the way the last several things have not gotten Looney Tunes. Like, it just has the right energy, the right vibe. So the real question is, look, I think the Batgirl decision was dumb and we all should have seen it and we could have been arguing about whether we liked it or not. But if a studio watches something and they go, wow, this is so bad, we don't want to release it. We don't want people to see it. We really fucked up. At the very least, you're like, okay, I wish you did so we could see it. They already made the movie. Might as well put it out there, but I get it. Right. This one is just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why? Like, what is it about? To your point, if Zaslav hasn't seen it and a bunch of executives saw versions of it, saw the director's cut, so whatever, but other studios having screened it, the rumors coming out are like, it's actually pretty good. The fact that all of these other studios wanted it, sure, they weren't going to pay what Warner Brothers wanted, but they were like, yeah, we'll take it. Like, so if it's good, what are we even doing?
Yeah, and that's what's so perplexing to me, because I saw people in this, and I should say this just in all honesty, I saw my brother on the hot mic tweeting about this, saying, it's good business, this is business, he's doing business. And I get that. Look, I'm one of the first people that says to you, it's show business, not show stroke your hand and make you feel good, not show let's support the creatives. It is show business. These studios are really in the business for the most part of making money, right? There are the artistic films they want to get awards for, to give themselves credibility, attract filmmakers to the studio, of course. But overall, they want to make money. Even with the artistic films, they'd like it if they made money, but they know there are other goals with those. Here comes a Looney Tunes film at a time when, there's not a lot of product in theaters for families to go see. And it's getting all these great reviews. And Warner Brothers still won't tell them why they're trying to destroy the movie and get rid of it. They will not reveal it. They just say it's a shift in global strategy, which could mean any millions of numbers of things. So that's what's so fascinating about this. And as you said, Michael, the test scores have been so positive that there must be something personal going on here. It feels personal. If you were going to kill it, then changed your mind because everybody called you an asshole for doing it, but then you rigged the game so that no one could know what was going on. In fact, I didn't say this, and I should mention that Drew said this. Warner Brothers refused to share specific details with the filmmakers about the proposed deals, and Warner Brothers rejection of the deals, and it was all captured through a hazy fog of secondhand phone calls and conversations. So they purposely kept them in the dark and kind of like a shell game with them, keeping them guessing the whole time, because they probably were afraid these filmmakers would leak the offers, leak what was happening, embarrass the studio even more. And I think after the Zack Snyder situation, that's the last thing they wanted. So to me, I don't understand how you don't put this out, take a little bit of loss. I mean, you just took the loss on Flash and Shazam 2 and you know, not maybe Aquaman 2, but maybe you will take a loss eventually. But yeah, in this situation, why not see what could happen? This feels personal. Am I misreading that?
I don't know that I don't know that it's I mean,
okay.
I don't know that it's personal, but I don't know what the reason is. So like,
yeah,
your guess is as good as mine. So maybe you're right. Who knows? I think we're not to disagree with the hot mic, but
Jeff on the hot mic.
Part of yes, not to disagree with Jeff. Part of the business of show business is the relationships.
Yes, 100%.
And also part of the reason that the entertainment industry has a level of mystique is it's not all it doesn't always make sense on a spreadsheet. Like half of the movies that come out that become the most beloved movies ever probably didn't make sense to make in the first place. You know, like this is not a business where you can just look at, and so the whole concept of let's bring in talent, pay them money, let them make their creative vision, look at it at the end and go, you know what? The tax write-off's better. Let's put it like that is not good business. Like even if this specific instance makes financial sense that they thought, and here's the real key is they think they're not going to make their money.
Right.
They think they're going to make more money in the tax write-off than they would by putting it in theaters or the streaming benefits because they don't think it's going to really make a dent in the number of subscribers that they have on Max or whatever reason they have. They think. They don't know.
Right.
Because in entertainment, you never actually know.
Right.
So no, like even if this specific thing makes the tax write-off is this much versus this much, and the other studios were going to pay this much and they were still going to lose, so if you just look at the dollars and cents of it, it makes sense. That doesn't mean it's good business. Right.
And I want to bring up this comment because I think this is important to discuss here. Geeky Lawrence says, wasn't Coyote versus Acme greenlit by Jason Kilar when he was still heading WB? Maybe Zaslav just doesn't want his leftovers. Now, I get what you're saying. If let's say you're at a McDonald's, you don't want to eat someone else's food. That's fine. But you can't sit here as the head of a studio and say it's better business to take a tax write-off on a film that might be good simply because the previous regime made it. That's not good business. That's reductive business. That's a mom and pop type of approach. And it is not conducive to good business overall. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm sure it happens. I'm just saying if you're going to claim your good business, but do personal petty bullshit like this, you're sending mixed messages about how you approach business.
It's one thing when you come in and take over from somebody else and you wipe your development slate clean.
Right. That hasn't been finished.
Like that does happen.
Yes.
And a lot of times it is personal and a lot of times it is a little petty. Like it is one thing to come in and go, hey, I'm the new boss. Let's see what the previous people were developing. Ooh, that's all garbage. That's why they're gone. Yeah. Let's get rid of this. Here's what I want to develop. That happens.
Right, of course.
But it's the entire concept of it's a finished movie. That's where people are really in the creative community are like, well, fuck you.
Yeah, like, I think that's what makes it quizzical, Mike. And finish your points on this. Like, Paul Thomas Anderson and Ryan Coogler just signed deals with Warner Brothers for Coogler's vampire film that he's doing, the Michael B. Jordan, and Paul Thomas Anderson's film that he's working on. I can't remember the novel that it's based on. Vineland, I think it is. And yet, this stuff is blowing up now again, but they signed their deals after the Coyote versus Acme. Initially, the controversy blew up. So it makes you wonder, like, are they really disattracting people, or is this giving some of these directors leverage to say, you're going to release this movie and put it in the contract?
I mean, it probably does get to the point with certain directors where you maybe want to, again, you have to be a certain level of director to demand that and not have Warner Brothers be like, screw you. But Yeah, look, I've seen people on Twitter being like, nobody's gonna go to Warner Brothers. People are gonna walk away. Like, there's only so many big studios that you could go make your big giant movie.
Unfortunately, true. And so many slots. Yeah.
Warner Brothers can be shitting the bed over here, but if they're like, we're gonna make your giant movie and we're really excited about this, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
It just like, there's only so many places and people need to work. So it sucks, but that's where the studios can kind of do this stuff, and it's not going to, there's no like, okay, we all decided that none of us are going to go to Warner Brothers, and none of us are going to do a DC movie, and none of us want to do a Harry Potter thing, and none of us want to do a Looney Tunes thing, and none of us are, it's like, it doesn't really work that way.
The question becomes too, like, this is now a pattern. Like, once, okay, twice is a pattern. And will there be other films down the road that they kind of toss in the trash can or delete, as it seems to be threatened to be happening for this movie, that just is, I don't know, man, it just sets a bad precedent overall, that if they do this again, how can you defend it after this, Yeah. Seems odd. All right. Well, let's answer some of your Streamlabs that are in Super Chats that have come through, and we'll get into some more topics here. We got a lot of time to go, a lot of topics rather to go. Cowboys Fan 92 says, "Hi, buddies. What are your predictions for the Madame Web's opening box office? Seeing as most of us don't care about this film. Happy Friday. P.S. Hi, Vogel. It's Amon, the buddy who lost his mom last month." Oh, yeah.
Hey, Amon. I hope you're doing okay. Definitely, our thoughts and prayers are still with you.
Absolutely.
My thoughts and prayers are not with Madame Web, however.
They're gonna need them.
I think it's gonna prove it's gonna be a pretty bad opening weekend.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's gonna be, but I think it's not gonna be pretty. I mean, like, if the big superhero movies that we still give a shit about are not having big opening weekends,
good point.
I don't see how Madame Web is going to do much of anything.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'm gonna be curious. They're predicting 25. I could see one of two things. Either A, it's like the kitsch factor gets it to 30 or 40, or the reviews are so terrible and nobody gives a shit, it goes like to 15 or 20. I could absolutely see that. I think everything is in play with this movie, because I don't know what the appeal is. How big is the Sydney Sweeney? I mean, her romantic comedy crossed $100 million, the one with Glenn Powell. And nobody goes to see romantic comedies anymore. So
because it looked funny.
Fair. Well, fair. True. And I don't think Dakota Johnson's doing herself any favors on these press tours and the comments and the things that she's saying. It's just like, what is happening here, man? So, yeah.
I mean, that viral clip going around with that dude asking her about the line from the trailer, and the dude asking her didn't seem to know why we all made fun of the line.
Right.
So he couldn't explain to her why we made fun of the line.
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, I don't know why people are making fun of the line. And we're all like, it's a stupid fucking line. Like, God, yeah, it was killing me. It was killing me this week.
It's full of exposition. That's why it's a stupid line. So anyway, all right. Francisco says, hey, Geek Buddies. I know we're going to get a whole new cast for MCU's X-Men, but what cast member or characters from the Fox's X-Men do you want the MCU to continue to use? Mine are McAvoy and Fassbender as Xavier and Magneto. And besides Deadpool, what trailers and ads are you expecting to see at the Super Bowl? Oh, what is your Super Bowl pick? So let's see, Francisco, let's deal with this one. What characters or what cast members do you want to see come back here, Michael, in this new X-Men iteration at the MCU?
What characters do I want? I think it'll be interesting to see what they do. Like, a part of me is like, guys, let's just go classic. Give me the classic 5 X-Men. But if you do the classic 5 X-Men, you don't have Storm, you don't have Wolverine, don't have a lot of diversity. And so then my next choice would be, I kind of want them to just take the 90s X-Men cartoon cast.
Oh.
Which was kind of the best. Like the 90s X-Men is Cyclops, Jean Grey.
Yes.
Is Iceman in there?
I think Iceman's in there, yeah.
Jubilee, Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Storm. Like, it's kind of and Beast. Like, it's kind of like that's the X-Men for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think kind of starting with them, but I do think I think I read that, Feige approached McAvoy, maybe approached Fassbender. I don't know that he approached them about being the Professor X and Magneto for the universe as much as we're in the world of the multiverse who see, we're going to have Patrick Stewart show up and kill him in 2 seconds. Like, so like you don't really know what they're planning, but I do think that we need like a whole fresh young cast for all of them. So as much as I like a lot of the people that have played our favorite mutants over the years and have my favorites and my less favorites, I kind of think, with the possible exception of Hugh Jackman, because who knows how long he's gonna go, and with the character of Wolverine, you could almost be like, okay,
yeah,
I'll give him that one. But like, aside from him, I think we need all new people.
I agree with you. Wipe the slate clean.
And probably Wolverine too.
Yeah, wipe the slate clean. Complete. For me, it's wipe it all completely, bring nobody back, start all over from scratch, build your own mythology that's not relying on the mythology that has come before or what the characters and actors did before. Build your own mythology so you can live and die by what you're building from scratch within the MCU. I am really into this whole like social media push to make Daniel Radcliffe Wolverine. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's wild because he's Harry Potter, but you look at how little he is, and you're like, you put some muscle on that boy, give him some claws, and you're like, you know what? It's possible. Akio Wolverine, let's go, baby. Like, come in. What trailers and ads do you expect to see at the Super Bowl? And which Super Bowl pick, Mike? It's the 49ers versus the Chiefs. What you got? Who? It's the 49ers versus the Chiefs? Yeah. I'm going to vote for, I don't know. I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm like, which colors do I like better? Let's root for them. I have no opinion on who's going to win that game. I am literally going to my friend's house for the food, the Deadpool trailer, and to see if Taylor Swift shows up at the Super Bowl in time to be there for her man. Like, that's all I got. What are the other big trailer spots that we think we're gonna get? Well, Quiet Place Day One. It released a Super Bowl spot today that I think was 30 seconds, but I don't know specifically what I don't know if they've announced what trailers we might be getting. Let me see here. Let me tell you, what's it? Super Bowl 58? Is that right? I think it's Super Bowl 58. Who are you asking? I know. I thought maybe you heard it in a TikTok video or something. Let's see here. They are apparently Quiet Place Day. Bob Marley, might have a trailer so far. Okay. But I don't know if they've announced anything else at this point that might be a part of this. Yes, Deadpool 3 certainly is a possibility. Let's see. Ghostbusters could get another one. Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire, an Inside Out 2, maybe a Bad Boys 4. Planet of the Apes. What about Wicked? Planet of the Apes and Wicked, I would be excited about. Like, if I saw like another Ghostbusters trailer, I don't need. I'm fucking down. You're in. If I would be excited to get another trailer, but like I think the first trailer did give us a lot, so I would be interested to see what else they're going to show us. Yes. But a new Planet of the Apes trailer, 100%. A Wicked trailer, fucking bring it. I'm ready. Ladies and gentlemen, every homosexual at every Super Bowl party who doesn't care about the Super Bowl would all scream at the same time and rise up to defy gravity, and then would sit back down when the Super Bowl came back on. Well, let me tell you something, Michael. There are people in the Geek Buddies fandom who would also rise up and defy gravity. For our third member of the Geek Buddies, joining us live from his... he's back! He's back from his honeymoon! Somebody's back on the mainland. Bright red. How are you, brother? Hi. How's it going, man? What's going on? How are you doing?
I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. We took a red eye out last night, so we got in this morning around 9:30. So we just got back a few hours ago. My wife was passed out on the couch, and so I was like, "All right, Let's hop on. Let's do this thing. How are you guys? How are all the fans out there?
Yeah, we missed you, man. We missed you.
John doesn't say buddies the way that you do.
I'm terrible at it. I'm so good. I can't hit that timbre. I can't hit that timbre the way you can, man. Yeah.
I got a high voice.
But how far is the trip? Like the plane ride? Is it 8 hours, 12, 15? What is it?
It is 8 hours going to and a little over 7 hours coming back.
Okay.
But both flights we left around midnight.
Nice.
I have a really important question for you. If you were going to cast the three of us as Looney Tunes characters,
You know what?
Who is who?
I feel like I'm about to walk into a landmine.
Oh, you think? Yeah. We know who cast himself in the lead.
I know that Vogel thinks he's Bugs Bunny.
He does think he's Bugs Bunny. Yeah.
Thanks. You two have told me multiple times. Whenever anything goes my way, you're like, "Oh, Bugs Bunny over here."
Bugs Bunny, even Steven.
Yeah.
Johnny, I mean, there are a couple.
Thank you.
Nope.
I mean,
Which
one could be Daffy Duck. I can absolutely see Johnny as Daffy Duck.
All right, fine. I accept it. Fine.
And depending on what John is doing, if John has had a stout or two in him, I think he could go into a Foghorn Leghorn.
Yes, I love Foghorn Leghorn.
And how would you cast yourself?
That boy's not working with a full deck. Yeah. How would you cast yourself?
I think part of me is Marvin the Martian in terms of maybe delivery. And I think you all. I mean, I think you all might kind of saddle me with Elmer Fudd. Again, just in terms of, I mean, maybe aesthetics. that I talk like Marvin the Martian, maybe look like Elmer Fudd a little bit.
Maybe. Yeah, I could see that. You got a little baby Fenster vibe to you too, because that overdeveloped beard you've got there.
I really just wanted you to give Daffy over here the what for, so thank you for that.
I wasn't sure which one was going to be more offensive.
Listen, Daffy put this thing together, so you kiss my ass, goddammit. Oh yeah, this is true. That there are elements of Pepe Le Pew in Michael, absolutely.
I am a lover. What can I say?
And as someone who's been around French accents for the last 10 days, spot on, Vogel.
You know what? Maybe you should go take a nap.
I'm seeing double right now.
Shannon, if you're on for the rest of the show, I just want to ask real quick before we take a break, because we're at the hour mark. We were talking about the Coyote versus Acme situation. Not sure if you read up on it, but basically it looks like they're going to kill it again. That Warner Brothers essentially kind of stacked the deck against this. So, didn't tell the other studios, didn't give them a chance to come back with counter bids, just took an initial bid. And if it didn't match what Warner Brothers wanted, they basically didn't do any business with them, and then didn't tell any of the creators and didn't update them on any of the progress of these bids or the details of these bids at all. And it looks like they're going to kill this thing and delete the film, not just kill it, maybe keep it, but delete it completely so it never even has a chance of leaking. So what are your thoughts on this real quick?
So we, for all of our audience, like, we text about these things, beforehand. And this is, like I had told the guys yesterday, I'm like, I have not read anything. I've been off the grid, but as we were flying back, this is the one thing that I did look up and read. It just seems like someone just has it out for this movie.
Right.
I mean, in terms of the leadership not keeping them in the loop, that is not a surprise at all, especially if the intention is just to kill it. I mean, I imagine that everyone involved with Batgirl, they probably found out in the trades, like most folks, is, our movie is dead. So the fact that they weren't really keeping them up to speed on, like, hey, so here's what we're doing. And again, it's really not something that they would keep them up to speed on, because that's a business decision. Everyone on the movie, that they're on the creative side.
Right.
But at the same time, the idea that the whole take it or leave it, Like no counter offer. I mean, they must think that the money that they will save on a tax write-off is going to supersede whatever someone would possibly give them. But when you have something that is, at least behind the scenes, getting these, these good test scores, the idea that there wouldn't be some sort of negotiation, like if you're going to save $40 million with the tax write-off, hey, let's try to get to 50. Again, like Vogel would be able to speak to this stuff better than I ever could, but it just seems like a vendetta almost.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Which is weird.
Personal. Yeah, it just seemed personal. So, all right, we'll see. But thanks. So Shannon, you're sticking around. So let's take a quick break.
Stick around.
We'll got more stuff to talk about, and we'll be right back right after this.
Aruba, Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama, Key Largo, Montego, baby, why don't we go to Jamaica?
Thank God.
Up the Florida Keys.
Thank God you took the lead on that, because I am in no position.
I figured.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's jump into these trailers now that Shannon McClung is here. Shannon, you want to take the trailers or shall I? What's your feeling?
Oh, please take them.
Okay, I will have.
I may not have seen them
though. Give us a little.
Trailers.
All right, let's kick off our trailer conversation with this one. Knuckles got a trailer this week, which was really fun to see here. This is a 6-episode series that is coming to Paramount Plus on April 26th. It does star Idris Elba returning to voice Knuckles in this one. We've got the Hound as the main villain in this particular series, which I think is really fun. And this one is coming with Adam Pally, of course, from Happy Endings as Wade Whipple. And then you've got Stockard Channing in this one. That's right. Stockard still doing her thing. Christopher Lloyd, Carrie Elwes, as you saw in the trailer, Paul Scheer there, Rory McCann, Rob Hubble, and we did hear Ben Schwartz and Colin O'Shaughnessy quickly in the trailer there, coming back as Sonic and Tails as well. And Fowler directed the Knuckles pilot with Ged Wright, Brandon Trost, Jorma Taccone, and Carol Banker doing the other episode. So, Shannon, since you are here, give us your thoughts on this Knuckles trailer there. What'd you think?
So I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in.
But in terms of what you just announced, because I didn't even know this was a thing. So the idea, like, we're at this point in streaming where the streamers are going to maybe this was not the best idea to double down on this platform. But the idea that they are still trying to churn stuff like this out, I think is a hopeful sign for streaming. The fact that they got Idris Elba,
come back.
Who is a huge star, that you got him to come back for this. Like I love Ben Schwartz. Getting Ben Schwartz for a Sonic theme project, that's not a shock. Idris Elba, that's a big name. So the fact that they are still continuing to do stuff like this, I mean, I know you guys are big fans of everything Star Trek centric on Paramount Plus. I really like a lot of the Taylor Sheridan stuff. So it looks like maybe Paramount Plus they're still all in on the streaming game.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike, of this trailer? Getting a little more of the story here, where Knuckles is essentially training Adam Pally to be a warrior against the Hound here, sending his own people to attack them. What do you think of this trailer?
I was looking at the picture of Knuckles as you put it up, and I tweeted about this, but man, remember when we were going to get creepy Sonic?
Yeah, that's true, with the weird teeth. Yeah.
And the reason I bring it up in everything we're talking about, the Jurassic Park shit, the Acme versus Wile E. Coyote shit, is that this is the result of a studio doing the right thing. This is where we're at right now. They had a creepy pedophile Sonic.
Oh my god.
And we all went, what the fuck are you doing? What even is this? And they didn't finish the movie, realize they made a mistake, and delete it for tax write-offs.
Well, good
They
point.
didn't say, screw you, this is the direction we're going. Right. They went, you know what? Maybe we should not make him look like he's on meth. And they fixed him. And then we got a delightful movie that did really well. We got a second movie where they introduced more of the cool characters and it was really adorable and great.
Yeah.
And now we're getting this series that, just based on the trailer, looks like it still has the right balance of the humor for kids. The characters are right if you are a big fan of the Sonic universe. Like, they're just doing it right.
Yeah.
And when you do it right, you keep getting to make more cool stuff. Like, that's where we're at. And so Sonic's doing it right, it seems. And giving Knuckles his own series seems like a lot of fun. And hopefully that'll tie back into what they're doing, like, going forward in the features. And it's like they're building a Sonic franchise in a really smart way.
Yeah, yeah. And I wasn't sure when they cast Idris Elba to the voice of Knuckles if it would 100% work. And it worked in that sequel. And then just watching this trailer, all I can envision is Idris Elba having a great time in that voiceover booth, doing all the lines that he's doing and messing with everybody he's messing with in the series. So yeah, it looks great. Looks like a lot of fun. I like that they've picked someone who's not like James Marsden in Adam Pally, who's funny as hell and can play off Knuckles being this overt alpha type character, and have him go on a journey here. We've seen the trailer coming out of that car in a tuxedo looking cool. So yeah, I love it.
I just recently went back because I was like watching a bunch of sitcoms for a script that I was working on, and I went back and rewatched about half of Happy Endings.
Oh yeah.
And man, that show is funny.
Yeah. The Lady Outlaw loves Happy Endings. It's on all the time in this house. Let's move on to another one that Michael is a big fan of here, and that is Moana 2. They released a 17-second teaser trailer of Moana 2 here and teased that this is coming. And there were articles that came out that said it was originally going to be a television series, but they shape-shifted it into a movie, into a feature film, which is set to debut in theaters on November 27th. It joins the Disney Studios' upcoming Alien spinoff Romulus and 2022's horror film Barbarian, as well as Paramount's Mean Girls movie, musical, and psychological thriller Smile, as projects that were commissioned for streaming, but ultimately scored theatrical releases here for this. So it was only 17 seconds. Not much was teased. There were stories coming out that The Rock is possibly in talks to come back. Is he not already on board? It's a little weird. So what did you think of the 17 seconds, Mike? Are you excited to see this back? And hopefully RLA will be a blast to doing it all over again as the voice.
So when the teaser came out, super excited.
Yes.
Still super excited.
Oh, okay.
Couple things.
All right.
One, this was a TV series for Disney Plus and we made it a movie. That's makes me a little like, it's like, okay, well, a TV series is, call it, what is it, 8 episodes, 6 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever it was. A movie is more compact time-wise, and it's just two very different things. So I'm wondering at what point they made that decision.
Yeah.
Because if it was early on, and we're like, here's the story, oh, this is a really good story, we should make it a movie. But if they're already like in production and scripts are written and then they're like, oh, let's condense, like it makes me nervous. Now, that being said, I mean, this does have shades of Toy Story 2, which was supposed to be a direct-to-DVD movie.
Right.
And then they were like, nope, this is really good. Add more stuff to it, put it in theaters, and Toy Story 2 is an amazing sequel. So I'm hoping we get a Toy Story 2 situation. But the fact that it's a TV series that was like, okay, let's make it, like, that's a little bit of a makes me nervous. The other thing that makes me nervous is no Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes. John Musker and Ron Clements are not directing this one either. It is Dave Derrick Jr. who's doing the animation for this. And Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, who did the unofficial Bridgerton musical, are writing the new songs with Opatea Foai, I hope I'm saying that right, and Mark Mancina, who worked on the first film. And to throw a little thing in there, according to the Variety, it is right now scheduled to release on the same day as Wicked, which makes no sense to me. Zero.
I mean, theater kid's gonna theater, man. Like, there's enough room for both. I mean, if our Twitter hasn't quite decided what to call it. We've got Moakid, we've got Wakana. We got a bunch of different ones going out there. No one can quite land that plane yet, but yeah, it literally is like we'll see. But so all in all, I'm excited.
Okay.
Like I love Moana. The fact that we're gonna get another story. Not much, as John said, it's like 17 seconds, so you can't see a lot from the teaser, but it does look like Moana. From a distance, it looks like she's older.
Yes, seems like she's older. Yes.
So I'm very excited. I want to hear more. Yeah. Just because Musker and Clements aren't back doesn't mean that these new directors won't be great. Yeah. Just because Lin-Manuel Miranda isn't doing the songs doesn't mean these new songs won't be great. Yeah. But when you're doing something like this, you want to have as much of the original creative team as possible coming back. And so when you don't, a little bit of cause for worry.
Yeah, for sure. Shannon, it's described as Moana receiving, quote, an unexpected call from her way-finding ancestors and must journey to the far seas of Oceania and into dangerous long-lost waters for an adventure unlike anything she's ever faced. So what do you think about this? And also the fact that the live-action remake is going to come out 6 months later on June 27th, or 7 months later on June 27th. So is it too much Moana in a condensed amount of time? Like, what are your thoughts on all of this and the 17-second trailer?
Do we need Moana is what you're asking? So yeah, the glory about a 17-second trailer is I could actually watch it real quick.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, I mean, I really like the first Moana. I think that's a great movie. And in terms of them doing a live action adaptation, that's pretty quick turnaround. The fact that you're going to have The Rock play the same character. The idea that Vogel already brought up, that this started off as a television project and then it sort of morphed into a film. It is unorthodox. But as he already mentioned, Toy Story 2. I mean, Toy Story 2 was supposed to be direct to DVD, and it ended up being a fantastic film. But I like the characters. I mean, I like Maui and I like Moana, and to see like more adventures there, I think could be fun. Could it be a disaster? Absolutely. Could it seem like they are really cashing in on this? The fact that you're going to have an animated sequel plus a live action adaptation within, the same, I don't know if it's the same calendar year or within 6 months, as you said. Yeah, that's a lot. So it's sort of a we'll wait and see. But I mean, the animation in that first movie was beautiful. So
I agree.
We'll see.
Two things I will say. One, because I saw some people saying this in the chat about not wanting to see streaming animation. I will say in Disney's defense that on the animation side, the stuff that they've done direct to streaming, even though it hasn't been maybe as much as we would want. Yeah. Like we got like the Zootopia shorts. We got those Baymax episodes that were about 10 minutes each. Not as long as I would like, but it does seem like their animation quality, it's all coming out of the animation studios and it all looks good. So I imagine that Moana, even had it been a series, was going to look pretty much like the feature. So I think the animation is going to be strong. But, John was like mentioning the description. What always makes me worried about a sequel is, when the first movie comes out, they create all the characters in the situation to tell the story they want to tell. And it's always this character has a problem. The problem in Moana was we don't go beyond the reef because it's dangerous. And then Moana went beyond the reef and she fixed everything, and now her tribe is back out on the water and doing everything their ancestors did, and everyone is happy and everything's good. So when you get to that sequel, like when the story's like, oh, she goes to this other place and faces new adventures, and you're like, cool. But what's the emotional story? I mean, like the reason that Toy Story 2 is so great as a sequel is that there's a good story there. Like, okay, Buzz and Woody are friends now, but Woody finds out that he's a collectible, and is it better to be beloved by everybody behind a piece of glass your entire life where you're going to last forever and be perfect, or be loved by one boy who's going to knock you around and like you're going to get dirty and old? Like, that was a really compelling story. So I just hope that one of the reasons they decided to jump to feature is they had that compelling emotional story. Yeah,
let's hope so. Let's hope so for sure. Rodney said, I just got here. Is this McClung PI? Does he have a Ferrari? Oh boy.
With the amount of money we spent. I mean,
let me tell you.
checking my bank account every other day. Like, woo, all right. Only do this once.
Don't you work too, honey? Anyway, all right, let's move on to the other trailer here, and we'll wrap up trailers with this one. A Quiet Place Day One debuted their trailer earlier this week, and then there was a Super Bowl spot that also dropped earlier today. But yes, this one seeing Lupita Nyong'o taking the lead with Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things, who may be playing Johnny Storm once they announce the cast. SAG-AFTRA, calm down, stop announcing the cast before it's actually official. But yeah, this one, A Quiet Place Day One, third installment here in the Quiet Place franchise. But this is a prequel going back to, as it says, day one of when this all happened. The trailer full of these aliens landing, all set in New York City, it seems like. And all the things that they go through, and Jomon Hansu back to reprise his role from the second movie. So your thoughts on this one? Did you get to see this one, Shannon, or no? All right, let's go to Mikey. Mikey, your thoughts on this trailer. What did you think of this one, my friend?
It's great. I mean,
yeah.
A Quiet Place is a interesting franchise because it very quietly snuck up on us and became a franchise.
Yeah, right.
You know that when a Quiet Place came out, was that Krasinski's debut as a director?
It was, yes.
Mm-hmm. Like it was just this little movie that came out, and it was such a novelty to go see a movie that was virtually silent.
Yeah.
Like I remember we all went to see it, and my brother was sitting next to me, and he had a big tub of popcorn, and he was having a hard time eating it because he was afraid to chew because the entire theater was so silent. And then it was just a really compelling, cool movie. Like Krasinski did a great job, and him and Emily Blunt, it had all the things that you were like, this is a fun movie, but it kind of felt like a one-off. So when A Quiet Place 2 came out, right at the tail end of the pandemic, when people were just starting to come back into theaters,
right,
it was like, well, okay, we'll see. Can they really? And again, they kind of just kept going with the story, and you're like, yep, nope, still compelling.
Yeah.
And they expanded the universe a little bit. They kind of told us this next chapter, but while telling us this next chapter, we saw flashbacks to what looks like day one for that family.
Yeah.
But and maybe part of it was having not been in theaters for so long, kind of just coming back to theaters, but it had that this is more fun to see in a theater than it would be at home.
Yeah.
This is fun to be in a theater where everyone is very quiet and very tense and very scared.
Yeah.
And so now at this point, like they've earned my trust with 2 movies. So this trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, we're not off in some small town. We're not off on a farm. This is like in New York City, one of the loudest places in the world. This is when it all first happened. People don't know what's going on. We're going to have to see them figure out that they need to be quiet. And let's put one of the best actresses that we've got dead center in this movie and let her run with it. So this was great. I mean, at this point, they're really building Quiet Place into this thing where, again, as we've been talking about throughout the entire show, like where Jurassic Park has kind of wasted their franchise, and Sonic is doing a great job in expanding their franchise, and Prey came and kind of revived the Predator franchise. Quiet Place is really building very quietly over here in the corner. Like we don't talk about it the way that we talk about Marvel and DC and these other things, but it's just chugging along and doing really well.
Yeah, I agree. And this one's coming out in June. And any thoughts on this at all, Shannon? Did you want to share, or do we move on?
No, absolutely. Okay. Because I mean, just looking at like the stills that I scrolled through, the thing with a Quiet Place, especially in the second one, when we got to kind of see day one, when we got to see day.
You sound like a kid in high school who didn't do his homework but got up to give his report anyway.
Hey.
I missed the Florida State days.
I didn't read the assignment, but Abraham Lincoln had a great beard.
So all quiet on the Western Front. We don't talk about the Eastern Front enough, in my opinion. You want to talk about quiet.
I mean, this book is nice and all, but the Eastern Front, what about that?
Western Front, what about the Eastern Back? Let's talk about the Eastern Back. But the idea that they're seeing what the aliens could do in a small town, like how much noise it creates, to watch what they're going to be able to do in New York City. That is a wild concept. And Lupita Nyong'o is one of those performers we don't see enough of. So knowing that she's kind of heading it, and even though I imagine Krasinski's like a producer on it, the fact that the franchise keeps going with him kind of taking a step back, I mean, that just sort of sort of speaks to the power of this the little franchise that could.
Yeah, and all the people who come after Michael Bay, he's one of the producers. And Krasinski has been very clear that Bay has been involved since the beginning in making this happen. So, bash him all you want, but this is a nice little gem that you can add in the Michael Bay crown as far as horror goes on, and doing kind of smaller versions of horror like he did with Platinum Dunes for a long time. So, I was throwing it out there.
Boy, Mikey really wants to make a Michael Bay.
I don't think he can anymore. 2 words for you, Bowen Yang. I don't think he can anymore. So.
I actually, there's a couple Michael Bay stories came to mind that I actually am not going to tell in public. Right. But yeah, no, it's great. Good for him. Good for
you. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This looked fantastic. I had to do a reaction when I saw it dropped. I literally jumped out of bed. I was like, I gotta get in the shower and watch this one. And I love Lupita leading this.
In the shower?
What? I'm sorry?
You watched it in the shower?
No, I'm saying I had to shower, because I don't like to do
it. Johnny's always plugged in. He's always plugged in.
Come on,
Before
dog.
You put on your pizza suit?
Come on. I love my pizza suit. See where I put the sausage. Anyway, I just had a really good time watching this thing and had a lot of fun seeing it. So I'm looking forward to it, and I want to see more of it. Maybe we'll get a Super Bowl trailer. I know we got a Super Bowl ad, but maybe the Super Bowl trailer will be a little bit longer, showing us more of what's going on. And look, Lupita is stumbling around the city looking emaciated, and I've heard that she might have a disease of some kind. I don't want to say what it is, but so that could be an interesting element to throw into this and what she's enduring and going through. So, and seeing the ash on people's faces, you can't help but think of 9/11 and setting it in Manhattan. Certainly, it's an interesting thing to look at. So I wonder how much of that are they going to walk the line. And this is from Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig, which is one of my favorite films of the last 10 years with Nicolas Cage. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Let's do John Wick, but with a pig and Nicolas Cage.
How dare you? It's not even remotely the same thing. What is wrong with you, man?
That man loved his pig. And when that pig died, he got mad.
Well, yeah,
spoiler.
All right, well, let's take a quick break. We'll get into our last few stories and also answer some of these last few Streamlabs and Super Chats. If you haven't sent in your Streamlabs and Super Chats to support the show, do it now. Any questions, thoughts, or comments, we'll read them here in the back end of the show. We'll be right back right after this. Nice, stepped in.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, let's get into this one because we should talk about this one, and that is the big controversy here with Kevin Conroy and Suicide Squad game that came out here. The Suicide Kill the Justice League. Now you'd think Batman dying is in the title of the fucking game, Kill the Justice League. But apparently a lot of people were very upset and thought that this was the last time that Kevin Conroy was going to voice the character of Batman and that it would be playing some kind of maniacal villain and then get shot in the head in the film, in the show, in the game, rather. I'm not going to say who does it. You can certainly find the footage online if you want to see the footage. But a lot of people were upset about this. So all these people came out and said that it is not the last time he's voicing Batman. He's going to voice Batman in part 3 of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is coming out at some point. Part 1 premiered just a few weeks ago on January 9th. So, Michael, this seems like a lot of nerd to do about nothing that people are just upset about. Like, grow up. People record stuff. He was 66 years old. He doesn't record it and then die on Wednesday. Like, this was recorded a long time ago. Why are people so upset? What did you think of this controversy?
Well, so I did a little reading. I haven't played the game yet because I can't decide if I want to because the world seems pretty split on whether this is worth playing or not. So I haven't quite played the game yet, but I did do a little bit of reading, and it seems like part of the issue. Look, you're 100% right on the Kevin Conroy part of it.
Right?
Kevin Conroy got hired. He played Batman in the Arkham games. He played Batman here. He did his job. He voiced the character. He went home.
Right.
He did his thing. So it's not Rocksteady's fault that
he died.
That he died. Like you can't. That is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, what I have heard though, is that where people are upset and it's kind of just a shame that it's one of Kevin Conroy's final performances, is that because the Suicide Squad game is part of the Arkham universe.
Yes.
And we spent multiple games playing this version of Batman. And this was a Batman that we stuck with, who like was an awesome hero and did all these things. The way in which he is killed. Yeah. And the, I'll say, ease with which it happens. True. And kind of the characterization and the personality that they gave him seems like a betrayal of not only the Kevin Conroy Batman that we all know and love, but also the Batman that people had been playing for multiple games. So I think that the Kevin Conroy part is just, it is what it is. Like he played it, like I said, it's not their fault. It does kind of feel like, and this sort of gets to why I haven't bought the game yet, it does feel like with all the delays and all of this and all of that, it just feels like in a lot of ways, both in gameplay, in the loot sharing aspect, in the storyline, that this kind of has gone off the rails in some ways. And some people are loving it and say it's a ton of fun, you got to do it. And some people are like, this doesn't feel like the thought was put into it. So I think that the Kevin Conroy part is sort of the rotten cherry on the top of a shitty cupcake for people. It's like, you know, if it had been a really cool final death for Batman and it had gone real, oh, that's awesome, it would have been like, okay, and Kevin Conroy got to do it. But it feels like, oh, he did this thing and they kind of didn't stick the landing with this character is what it sounds like to me. Okay.
Shannon, your thoughts on this and the reaction, because we are going to get another Kevin Conroy performance here whenever they release part 3 of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, you know, I kind of equate this to like, in terms of, you know, you went on a journey with this character and again, not really knowing how he is dispatched or rather by whom he is dispatched. It kind of makes me think of like Alien 3 with Hicks and Newt. Oh, yeah. How, you know, these people that, you know, you became that you loved through the second film, and then to find out that they're kind of killed off screen, it's sort of like, God. And granted, this is not an apples to apples comparison, but it's like, that sucks, because the thing that birthed this game were those Arkham games, and to see the hero that you went on this journey with, even though Kevin Conroy didn't do the voice for Arkham Origins, it's still that Batman, and to see that he was again, kind of so easily dispatched, and the fact that Kevin Conroy did pass. I mean, now had Kevin Conroy not passed, would this have been as much of a to-do as it is right now? Kind of, who knows? Because I know people are talking about like, well, his last performance is that Crisis film, that animated film. You know, the video games are much more popular than the animated films. You know, and to see how the buzz on that game when it was first announced, like I think it was probably at that on the first DC fandom that we got to see the you know, sort of extended trailer, and how people were so excited, and then there were just the delays, and the rumors about the gameplay not being great, and again, like the loot sharing being, folks having an issue with that. Yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate. Like, I do understand the disappointment that people might have, because your last time playing this version, I mean, you're probably not playing him, but the last appearance of this character was so kind of unceremonious. I do understand the disappointment around that.
I do think the Alien 3 example is a really good one, though. Yeah, like I think that it's a good lesson. Again, we're talking about all these franchise things today, but look, the movie that Fincher wanted to make, and I think if you go back and watch Alien 3 now, in retrospect, years later, and just knowing David Fincher, and like seeing like where he's gone, like there's a lot to love in that movie. It's actually a really cool movie.
I do agree.
But as a fan of that franchise, he absolutely did Newt and Hicks dirty. And even if he wanted to be like, I don't want to deal with Hicks and Newt, I want to just get rid of them because this is the story I want to tell, understanding the franchise, he probably in retrospect should have handled that more eloquently, as opposed to you literally die off screen in the opening credits of the movie. And I think we're sort of in a similar area here. I don't think anybody, to your point, everyone was excited about this game.
Yeah.
Like everyone was like very stoked about where this game was going to go. And I don't think anybody is upset that Batman dies.
Right.
But I think that in retrospect, they maybe could have done it in a cooler way.
Yeah, fair point. I know the people who were involved in making the game came out with statements saying Kevin loved it, Kevin understood, Kevin approved it, Kevin was fine with it. So trying to push back because some of these articles came out bashing it, saying it's a horrible end to Kevin Conroy. How could they do this? Blah, blah, blah. As if they could predict the future when they were recording it. Because remember, this game got delayed multiple times and it took forever to come out. So it just seemed like a bunch of really off-base articles in my opinion.
I'm curious in the chat, if anybody's playing it, let us know if you like it or not. I really am like torn. I texted a friend of ours who is a big fan of the DC universe, and he is loving the game, but that's not surprising.
He loves Arkham Knights too.
Yeah, it's true. I'm picking that one up tomorrow. The Suicide Squad one over here. Let's see. All right, so then let's move on to another story that we have in the title here. Let's move on to a little Bob Iger action from Marvel Studios. He was doing a earnings call with the people involved with Disney here and giving some updates. And this is according to the Wrap. He shared a vision of where Disney's best chance of success lies. He said, quote, "I'd say we're leaning a little bit more into sequels and franchises. I think given the environment and given what it takes to get people out of their homes to see a film, leaning on franchises that are familiar is actually a smart thing. In our zeal to greatly increase volume, partially tied to this wanting to chase more global subs for our streaming platform, some of our studios lost a little focus. So the first step that we've taken is that we've reduced volumes, we reduced output, particularly in Marvel." And he mentioned a number of films here, but did not mention Thunderbolts or Blade. And I will reiterate my call that we're never going to see that Thunderbolts movie. But gentlemen, what are your thoughts on Iger? I mean, we kind of had heard this through leaks that they're pulling back. They're going to space this stuff out. But this is him officially saying it on an earnings call. What are your thoughts when you hear this? Shannon, I'll go to you first on this.
So yeah, this was another thing I read. Just because he didn't mention them doesn't mean they're not going to happen. I mean, this is literally just, these are the two things that he mentioned. Does that mean that Thunderbolts is going to be pushed to 2026? Blade's going to 2026? Are they off the schedule permanently? No, he said Captain America and he said Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Those are the ones he mentioned. Yeah. That doesn't mean they're not going to be delayed. They certainly could be. At this point, it wouldn't be a huge shock if Blade does go to 2031 at this point. But in terms of like talking about like we want to focus on our stronger franchises, it's interesting because Marvel is the franchise. I mean, you can talk about the individual heroes when it's like, okay, we want to focus on our stronger ones. Like, all right, who are you talking about? I mean, are you talking about Spider-Man? Because that's still mainly Sony.
Right.
Are you talking about Black Panther? Are we talking financially strong? I mean, because certainly Doctor Strange, even though like the Multiverse of Madness had a kind of a mixed review, it was still very financially successful. So it's curious because all of the individual Marvel franchises were new at one point. And you look at, like, that's how you decide, that's how things become a franchise, is because one comes out and does really well.
Yeah.
So the idea that they haven't continued Shang-Chi, or if you're looking at the Disney Plus series, that how some hit and some didn't.
Yeah.
I think every single one of those characters that they tried to do a Disney Plus series out of, there is value in every single one of those characters. And sometimes things don't work out. I mean, like, I think there was probably a really good Moon Knight series. We just didn't see it, or at least for me, at least. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a smart move, because I think you do reduce your volume. You give yourself, you give your filmmakers, you give your creative teams more time to kind of figure out what is it we are actually working towards here. Let's get back to what made the MCU work.
Okay. Michael, your thoughts on these comments? You've been in these halls of power and these meetings. What do you think about what Iger is trying? Can you read between the lines of what Iger is saying?
Well, a little bit of it is just spin.
Okay.
Because he's talking about, let's go back to franchises that we know and love, and he mentioned a brand new franchise that has failed twice at a different studio. And the other one that he mentioned is starring a brand new Captain America. There's no Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like Captain America Brave New World is a brave new world for Captain America. Like, this is this thing's gonna come out with Anthony Mackie in the lead and a bunch of characters that are not the characters that people who are like it's a different thing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of spin on the tried and true franchises, because a lot, Iron Man's dead.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers is dancing with Peggy back in 19 whenever.
Yeah.
So and Tom Holland is half owned by Sony. So, it is a little bit of spin. But that being said, I think that for what he said that was the smartest, that I think is the truest thing, is given how hard it is to get people into theaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because that is true. Yeah. And we can all well, why are they just we want something new and original and this and that, but like a lot of new and original stuff comes out and people aren't going to see it.
Yeah. Very true.
So, we're going to do Zootopia 2. We're going to do Frozen 3. We're going to make Moana 2 a movie, and we're putting it in the theaters. Like, great. Like, that makes sense. We're going to do less Star Wars and Marvel stuff. Although on the Star Wars front, I'm like, it doesn't seem like you're doing less. But, he is trying to focus what they're doing, because I think under Chapek and because of Disney Plus and because of a lot of reasons, like, we just sort of got flooded, and part of that was the pandemic and things getting pushed like there was so many reasons that things happened the way they happened, but we had a couple of years where we were just getting too much stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to find that balance. And again, getting back to our Geek Bites from earlier this week, this is where the whole streaming movie thing is a problem, because you got to feed the streamer. You want people to go to the movies. You understand that you're maybe exhausting your brands, but you still need Marvel TV shows, and you want to make Marvel movies, and you want Star Wars TV shows, and you want Star Wars movies, and you got to keep doing it, but you don't want to do it too much. So just it's a dance. And Chapek was not a good dance partner, and Iger's stepping in now, and there's all these articles that are coming out about how Iger is kind of in a tough spot because he was sort of the golden CEO. Yeah. And now he's come back in and he's sort of reliving a lot of what Eisner relived back in his final days. And you're like, how are we going to feel about Iger at the end? Like, where is the end of his story when it comes to Disney?
Disney's like a dance partner. Disney had a dance partner in Iger that understood it and had a great time. But eventually they got tired and had to go home, right? So Chapek took over and wanted to dance at every song and kept stepping on your feet, but you didn't want to be mean. And then eventually Chapek left. That guy was forced out by security. And then you thought, here's Iger coming back, but he is still tired and wanted to go home. So he is back now, and he only wants to dance every few songs, and he only wants to dance the songs he knows really well, even though they're remakes. In the end, I think he's setting this whole thing up to be sold. I think we're looking at the plan slowly but surely of them setting this up to be sold. They're spending less money. They're going to focus on known commodities, and they're going to spread this stuff out. And so it looks much more attractive to be bought out by Apple down the road. And Peter Soretta, who I am friends with, who started Slash Film and used to run it before he sold it, he tweeted out, these are not the films you greenlight if you're looking at a long-term plan. And it seems like Iger might not be there beyond the sale. And that's what it seems like in my mind.
I'm still a little unclear on what's the... Look, Disney's not doing Marvel has their problems, Star Wars has their problems. All the studios are having trouble getting people into theaters. Like 100%. It's a studio, it's a industry-wide thing. Yeah. Why are we so sure Disney wants to sell? Like, of all the studios, because they have the theme parks, because they have the consumer products arm, because they have the cruise lines, like, they kind of have the same thing that Amazon has, which is, yes, we have Amazon Prime, we're doing stuff, but also every single one of you is buying your laundry detergent from us. Like, we're good. Like, we've got this whole other income stream. Like, why are we so sure Disney wants to sell?
I think they're not. I think overall over the last few years, you've seen that they're not doing as well financially as they had been in the past. And I think they're looking at cutting. I mean, the fact that you've got Iger coming back saying, I'm going to start slashing budgets, tells you that they don't have the financial cash flow that they used to have. So they're a damaged studio right now who's not willing to spend all this money, as opposed to being a smart, frugal studio. It seems to radiate, we're going to be really careful about how we do this, even though they just spent $75 million, I think, for Taylor Swift's Eras tour thing to be screened, I think on Hulu or whatever. Yeah. They've got money for certain things, but other things they want to start limiting the budgets. And that,
again, just let's take what you said and sprinkle just a tad of slashing budgets and pulling way back.
Yeah.
Moana 2, Zootopia 2, Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, 4 Star Wars movies, Captain America, Fantastic Four, probably a Thunderbolts, other unnamed Marvel things. Like, I don't think that we're like, oh shit, they're just making $20 million indie films. Like, they're still making movies. He's just saying, like, they're not going to be flooding, because we were a little bit flooded. I mean, I love seeing every big franchise movies, but when you have 4 Marvel movies and 2 Star Wars movies and 3 Star Wars series in a year, it becomes less special. So I think it's more strategic than, oh shit, we're really hurting for cash. I don't think we can afford this movie.
But look at the level of talent they're bringing onto these movies, Mike. These aren't high-level A-list talent. These are people you're getting for cheap. Let's be honest. These are not high-level. I mean, Anthony Mackie's not going, give me $20 million a movie. That's not happening in this. Thunderbolts, maybe Florence Pugh is the only one that could demand a certain amount of money. Harbor ain't asking you for $20 million, for fuck's sake. Like, all these things are smaller level asks. I'm sure Dwayne's getting his bag on Moana too, but everyone else is not really high level caliber in terms of demanding money. So they are saving money in that way by not going after these big names. Like Robert Downey Jr. and other people now, and that's
like Harrison Ford might take offense to that if he's not.
Harrison's probably doing it for a ham sandwich. Come on, give me a break. Harrison's just having fun, man.
So, but you can't have both ways. Like, we're not going after big names, but we just cast Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross. Anthony Mackie probably did do a pretty decent job, since you can't do Falcon without him.
Of course,
but like, and Marvel and Thunderbolts is like, sure, David Harbour might not be a ton of money, but and none of the people in Thunderbolt might not be a ton of money, but add all of those characters up. Like, again, I don't think that it doesn't seem like Disney is doing bargain basement filmmaking.
I'm not saying bargain, but look at Fantastic Four. You got Vanessa, Pedro, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss Bachrach. None of those people are going to break your bank, and I'm sure with X-Men, they're going to go low.
But when Chris Evans
and
Chris
Hemsworth
was cast in America, and Chris Hemsworth was cast as Thor, they weren't breaking the bank either. The only one they went after was Robert Downey Jr. to sort of
and he was not expensive for that first movie.
Until it started making money, then he was.
Well, that was the thing, because of the deal that they negotiated for that first movie. That's how he was able to make them pay through the nose on the second one.
I'm just saying, Harrison's 81. He's fine. Like, he's just having fun. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to, I'm sure they paid him good, but I'm just saying, it's like, he's not demanding millions and millions and millions. I don't think his quote is quite where people think it is. So just throwing it out there. Anyway, all right, let's hit some more. I guess we should talk about this. A little bit of a more serious note. With Kumail Nanjiani, I don't know if Mike or Shannon got a chance to watch this or listen to this podcast episode of Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. By the way, a fantastic podcast. And just a quick plug, Michael Rosenbaum, I think, is a guest on Katie Sackhoff's podcast, Blah, 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 that Christian Harloff produces. So you can go watch that podcast, I think is up. But Michael has a great podcast here Inside of You. A lot of awesome guests. Michael Bean was on a few months ago. That was a great interview. But he was talking to Kumail Nanjiani about the Eternals experience. And Kumail revealed that he had to go to therapy to deal with the reviews, the negative reviews. He said the reviews were bad and I was too aware of it. I was reading every review, checking too much. It was really, really hard because Marvel thought that movie was going to be really, really well reviewed. So they lifted the embargo early, put it in some fancy movie festivals, and they sent us on a big global tour to promote the movie right as the embargo lifted. I think there was some weird soup in the atmosphere for why that movie got slammed so much. We can deal with that later. And I think not much of it has to do with the actual quality of the movie. It was really hard. And that was when I thought it was unfair to me and unfair to my wife, Emily. And I can't approach my work this way anymore. Some shit has to change. So I started counseling. I still talk to my therapist about that. Emily says that I have some trauma from it. We actually just got dinner with somebody else from the movie, and we were like, that was tough, wasn't it? And he's like, yeah, that was really tough. And I think we all went through something similar. So, Michael, I go to you first on this one. What are your thoughts when you hear this? And we know how toxic fandom can be. We know how vitriolic it can be, the back and forths, all of that stuff. But also Kumail reading the negative reviews, leading down to this path and leading to therapy and him being open about it. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I just feel really bad that he was listening to Geek Buddies and heard Shannon's review of his performance.
How dare you? How dare you?
No, it sucks. I mean, look, and we all have those performers or those directors or those writers that we are not huge fans of.
Sure.
And look, that's why it's no secret some of the people that I'm not the biggest fans of, but you know, I try not to be too vitriolic in my hatred of them for the most part. But it sucks because this is where social media is challenging. Back in the olden days, before you had Twitter and before you had Instagram and before you had all the things that we have, like an actor or a director, like kind of trying to see what people thought of their movies, like they would read the reviews. Sure. And there would be box office, but you couldn't just open up your phone and be direct messaged by people telling you how much you suck.
Yeah, true.
And, you know, it gets a little wild sometimes. And Eternals did get really, the people that did not like Eternals really did not like Eternals.
Yeah.
And as Shannon is proof of, some people didn't like his performance, Kumail's performance. But I think by and large, a lot of people, the issues they had with it were bigger. What's going on with the MCU? Why do I even care about this? Who are these people? What's going on? And I think it did get caught up in that too. And it sucks for the people making those movies. And Shannon says this all the time because nobody sets out to make a bad movie.
Right.
Like they all, and I think all of them coming in to make this movie, they came in when Marvel, like when they all signed on to this movie, Marvel was the hottest ticket around.
Right.
And this was this whole new chapter, and they were playing these epic alien characters that were going to be like you would have been so excited about this. And then to get the response that you got, like, I get why it would fuck somebody up, which is a shame.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Shannon, what are your thoughts on it? I'll opine after you, but what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, now I feel a little guilty. Oh man, Rodney's killing it in the chat.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it from two angles, and both of them are from the actor's point of view. On one side, there's the jealous actor that would love to be in this type of movie. That's just kind of like, man, I absolutely understand the point of view of you put your heart and soul into this.
I hadn't thought of this.
And
okay.
And you know, and again, you thought, I imagine there was talk about like this is what you all are going to be doing going forward. You all are really important. You're a building block to this next phase, and to have it come out and not be, you know, you have an Academy Award nominated director and her next film is this that does not get the best reception. So yeah, I mean, I do understand how that can be really, really like, man, this is a tough pill to swallow. That being said, there's also the business side. It's just kind of like, look, man, this happens.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I would have to go back and read the Eternals reviews to find out how personal and how vitriolic they got. I don't remember right now. I don't feel like Kumail was singled out as being terrible. I feel like he was one of the bright spots. I just, as an actor, I'm kind of like, I don't like him in this type of role. I don't think he's a good dramatic actor, with the exception of The Big Sick. I mean, I haven't seen that yet.
It's so good. Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Oh,
I
no,
mean,
he saw The Big Sick. He hasn't seen him do anything like that since.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I do understand, but part of me is also like, man, if you all weren't able to, you and your reps weren't able to leverage this into your career going forward, that's on you. Because this movie, you get cast in a big Marvel movie, it's going to be about 9 months to a year once you're done, that you have this cachet of, hey, this is what I have on the horizon. You need to put me in something else right now.
Yeah.
Like, if that didn't happen, that's kind of like, that's kind of on your rep's fault. Yeah. So it's like, part of me is just like, boo-hoo. Like, you were in a huge movie. You were in a huge movie that didn't work out. This is not the first time that it has happened. And it's not the last time it's going to happen. Like, it sucks that you did work so hard on this, but all the bombs that have happened in the past, those people worked really hard too.
It is, I mean, George Clooney's great when he talks about being in Batman.
Yeah, he can laugh about it now, right? Because he has that experience and he's succeeded in other areas in his life. I mean, that tequila brand has good money.
Yeah.
So,
and that's not to say that, like people are sensitive. Like, people have different levels of sensitivity. There are things that are going to make John Rocha really mad on social media that will not bother me. We all have our different things. And I do think getting inundated with bad reviews, or, thinking, to Shannon's point, being excited and not getting the response, it can mess with your head.
Oh, absolutely. And this is something, I've had to learn over the last few years being in this business. I recently got into some scrapes about my comments around Charmin Obaid-Chinoy and saying that all these people who are going after her because she's an activist filmmaker need to realize it's okay. We're all going to live. It's fine. And then recently I went after The Rock for some of the stuff he recently pulled in the WWE. I didn't enjoy this WrestleMania kickoff thing last night. And all these people were so upset that I didn't like it like they liked it. And I opened my social media and it's just denigration. And the recent Star Wars show we did, all these right-wing people jumped in, or right-wing fans or whatever jumped in, and were criticizing the fact that my YouTube channel only has 30,000 subscribers. The view count on my videos isn't great. These are these things, soy boy, all that fucking weak ass shit. You just have to deal with it. That's the game. And, but I do applaud Kumail, and I tweeted this out, that he realized that he was going down a dark path. He realized it was affecting his relationship. He realized he was sensitive to this stuff and went and got help. That's really important. Whatever your feelings are, and Shannon, I take your point. Michael, I take your points. As you said, Michael, everyone is sensitive in different ways. So if it affected you and is affecting your life, affecting your relationship, that's when you got to go get therapy. You guys know, I had a friend confront me with therapy years ago in the early 2000s that really helped me. And then when I fell apart in 2016, having two incredible therapists put me back together and help me to understand where all that was coming from has been essential. So it's important to understand, no matter what position you're in, that things affect you. And if they do, it's important to go get help. That being said, there was no weird thing in the soup. The movie's just not good. And all these people keep defending the movie and saying that it's great and that something else is the reason why the movie didn't do well. No, it's just that people didn't like it. It's just that. Part of moving past a situation is accepting a situation. And I think more people involved in that movie need to accept the movie just wasn't good. It's not personal. It just wasn't good. So,
but see, I mean, look, you and I sat at that premiere. And you sat there and you hated that movie 20 minutes in.
20 minutes in, it lost me.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yes, I know.
I don't think it's the best Marvel movie ever made. I don't think that they, broke new ground in superhero movies.
No.
But I think it's a fun, compelling movie. I think it's a good time. I think it maybe tried to bite off a little more than it could chew. I think, that it didn't quite stick the landing. And I'm still wondering why nobody's talking about the goddamn alien that's frozen in the ocean.
I think it was referencing Loki, but I'm not, I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure there's just a, She-Hulk sees a,
oh, that's it.
She's on her laptop and there's like a little blurb about it, and that's it. But yeah, I just think that there are bad movies.
Yes.
I don't think that Jason Momoa is gonna run around saying he really doesn't know why Aquaman 2 is doing fine, but or I don't think that the people who made The Flash are gonna try and defend The Flash anytime soon.
Oh man.
Really? Okay.
They might in public, but I don't think that they're really confused about it. I don't think that they're like, oh, if only this hadn't happened. I think with Eternals, there's enough people that do like it, and there's enough other stuff going on with Marvel that you can kind of say, it's not everyone's favorite movie, but I do think there's more going on with the hatred of Eternals than just it's not a good movie.
Really? You think there's more? Like I said, let's get into
not like there's kind of some conspiracy against Eternals, but it's just it was the beginning of, I would say, it was the beginning of, okay, where the fuck are we going? What's going on?
We're going way out there.
People didn't come out of Eternals and go, this movie on its own is the worst superhero piece of shit I've ever seen, or this is the best superhero. It was part of this is when Marvel had been like, okay, so Tony Stark died in Endgame. Peter Parker is upset about Tony Stark's death, and he goes on summer vacation. And now we're going back in time, and we're seeing that Scarlett Johansson after Civil War went here, and that's how Florence Pugh. Okay, I got it. WandaVision takes place right after Endgame. Cool. And then Eternals comes along and goes, we have been here the whole time, but we did not help them with Thanos because we are gods. And everyone went, okay. And then they're like, also Harry Styles. And we're like, okay. Okay, okay, where are we going?
Yeah.
And I think that was the beginning of that thing. So in addition to people going, I thought this was a little boring, these characters didn't really jump out to me, it was also, there was this, Marvel, what are you doing to me? And I don't think that's anyone on Eternals' fault specifically. It's also some of the bigger Marvel decisions that were being made.
That's fair. I guess that's fair. I've seen it 3 times, and each time it's like putting a cheese grater on my face. It's just not. It's just not my jam. I'm just telling you, it's not my jam. And I really wish we could get away from all. I see people in the business, and I see other, like letterbox critics coming out with these posts on Twitter that go viral, and they're just like, there's a big conspiracy here, and they loop in the Marvels now, because it's on Disney Plus. People are like, oh, now you're discovering the Marvel. Now it's a good movie. It's like, no, the bar is lowered because everybody destroyed it, and then now you're watching it at home on Disney Plus. You're gonna be more relaxed in your judgment of the movie. There was no conspiracy. People are like, oh, Variety wanted to sink the movie, and you just get into that. And I hear some of that with Eternals. There was something going on here, and it's like, come on, guys. It's just people didn't like the movie. Why can't we just accept that people don't like a movie? I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll pop the Marvels on.
Knock yourself out.
I'll pop the Marvels on. I'll be like,
yeah.
I have yet to pop on.
Here's Vogel again, grading the MCU on a curb. You're right, Frank. He does. He's got a
maybe. It's fair. I could be the Mike Kalinowski of the MCU. It might be true. So sure, fair. Okay. But I don't think Marvel's is good. I'm not gonna sit here I agree with Rocha, which is what I was about to say. I'll pop the Marvels on. I think it's harmless. I thought, and we said this when we reviewed it, I think the Marvels is, because I like the 3 characters. Is fine, put it on in the background, whatever. Whereas Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder actively make me angry.
Quantumania?
What? Quantumania is kind of in the Marvels territory for me. I don't think it's good.
Right.
I don't think Quantumania is a good movie by any stretch. Right. But Paul Rudd as Scott Lang is great. Michelle Pfeiffer, I'm cool. So you can call it on a curve if I want. I don't think any of these the 5 movies, Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Quantumania, the Marvels,
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever I'll put in there too. I don't think any of them are great. Okay. They're not. But Wakanda Forever, Marvels, and Quantumania, I might put it on a Sunday afternoon when I'm hungover. and have it on in the background and be like, cool. Whereas like Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder, I don't know that I will ever go back to. Like I really dislike them. But all that being said, to John's point, I don't think there's some conspiracy. I don't think that everyone's out to get Marvel. I don't think these movies are coming out and everyone is like dogpiling on them just to be shitty. Yeah. I think that people are literally like, guys, this is not as good as what you were doing.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Last night's, flying back, I put on Multiverse of Madness, like on the plane, just because I'm like, why is this movie not what I want it to be?
This is how it was with Superman v Batman. Shannon and Michael, I watched that film 10 or 15 times to be like, where is it that it loses me? Yeah, I hear you, Shannon. Yeah.
And honestly, like outside of that first scene where America and Ponytail Strange are running from the one monster, because I do think visually, I'm like, this is visually dynamic. This is great. The moment it loses me is they do this big jump onto a floating piece of rock, and they both superhero land. I'm like, nope, that's right there. That's right there. Like you need to hit that and roll. Like I start to look at it from an action an action spot. But then as soon as he wakes up, like Strange's whole emotional journey, I'm kind of like, yeah, I just don't buy this right now. And the way Raimi films things, I'm like, this looks like Spider-Man from 2002. Yeah. I mean, like it looks exactly like his New York in Doctor Strange looks exactly like his Spider-Man New York from 2002. But yeah, I mean, there are movies that I will certainly pop on. Like I've popped on Love and Thunder to be like, why did they decide to make Stormbreaker sentient and like he's jealous of me? Like that's such an odd. Like I imagine that was a Taika choice. 100%. But also like Quantum Mania, I've popped that on just because despite Jonathan Major's personal stuff, I'm like, man, he's good in this role. Like I do like to watch him. So yeah, but I agree with you all. There is not a conspiracy to take down Eternals. If a movie is good, it's good. People will come out and like
John, because I know, John, you got upset when it came out, when Marvels came out, because there was a little bit, and I think this does happen, like a little bit of like, if you don't like the Marvels, it's because you don't like women's superheroes, or you don't like this, or you don't like that. And I don't think that was true either. I think that there are people, it is true that there are people on social media that are going to come after any superhero movie that stars a bunch of women. Like, of course, I don't want like that's just true. But
they got to make their money.
There are also a lot of people that are like, no, Marvels, I just didn't like it. Yeah, and I think that we are at the point where a lot of these movies, like, they're not as good as the movies that were coming before them.
Yeah, and I don't think it serves anything to have people do victory laps about these movies. Oh, now you like it, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you, 12? Like, to me, it's like it's ridiculous to see that kind of stuff from adults, people in their 20s acting like that. It's like
some of them might be 12 though, John.
Yeah, but no, trust me, I've seen them, I know them, and I just go, what are you doing? You know, to me, it just kind of is conflicting purpose, because the last thing people want to do is to be shamed into liking a movie or shamed into going to reevaluate a movie. That ain't the way to do it, especially if someone's gloating next to you about the film. It's like, no, you should be like, I love that you loved it. I love that you watched it. It's awesome that you took a chance to watch it on Disney Plus and enjoyed it. Why not celebrate it instead of gloating about it as if you need to be right about a movie, which is impossible because movies are subjective. All right.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, look.
Here we go.
Well, no, I was just thinking about, because we were talking about the Jurassic Park movies, and like, look.
By the way, we're over 2 hours. Don't blame me that we're going this long. I just want to make it clear. So go ahead.
Just real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think there's movies can change over time. Like, I was disappointed in The Lost World when I saw it in theaters. Like, compared to Jurassic Park, I was like, the hell is this? I'll put The Lost World on now. Compared to Jurassic World Dominion, I have a blast watching Lost World. I think there's some amazing sequences in that movie. So does that mean that I have discovered that Lost World was actually great all along? Right. Or does that mean that as a casual watch on my couch, it's better than sitting in a theater? You know, like, I just think that, like, also people can just enjoy movies for why they enjoy movies. If you were like, I didn't want to go see the Marvels because I fucking hated that, and then you pop it on Disney Plus and you were like, you know what? I like that Kamala Khan. Like, great.
Yeah. Should be celebrated, like I said. And like Max here, John, you're being too dramatic. I think The Last Jedi is absolute poop trash, and I've watched it 29 times. You can handle it, John. That's the kind of stuff that I hate, as you're being too bad. No, let me be how I want to be about movies. And Max, I won't tell you how to be about movies. Let everybody just be, man. People need to let people be. If you like the movie, you like it. If you don't like the movie, you don't like it. If it feels like dragging a cheese grater across your face, that's okay. I loved it. Okay, let's all go forward and let's all go to In-N-Out and get a burger. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
but by that argument, which I don't disagree with.
Yes.
If someone wants to take a victory lap on Twitter and say, I'm so glad that people are discovering Marvel.
That's different. That's different. That's different.
Is it though?
It is. It is. Because that's you sticking it in there. So
Max calls one of my favorite Star Wars movies poop trash.
Yes.
That tells you you're dramatic. One of those statements is a little bit true.
Yeah, it is poop trash. It is poop trash.
I'm just saying, but you're right. But we live in social media. Everyone's doing crazy shit. Unless you are being a douchewad. You know what? You loved Ms. Marvel. Everyone else hated it. Now people are going, oh, I watched it on Disney Plus and it wasn't so bad. And you're like, I'm so glad people are discovering Ms. Marvel.
That's cool.
Right.
That's cool. Say that. I'm so glad people are discovering it. Don't go, I told you so. That's the difference, I think, in my opinion. That's what I don't like to see. All right. Do you guys want to get into the Corona lawsuit, or shall we just table that and jump into some super chats? Yeah. All right. Let's do that. Let's take a quick break and we'll get into super chats and Streamlabs right after this.
Super chat.
Oh, that is good. We've discovered something new, my friend. I love it. All right, where did we leave off at? Oh yeah, Don Ronaldo McWhiskey just saying support. Thank you, Don. Very kind of you. Cowboys fan 92 says, P.S. Rocha, I've almost finished the hot mic intro beat. All right, I'm looking forward to hearing it, brother. Looking forward to hearing it. Fretastic says, if they have Hitler trying to get a predator to win the war, then I'm out. Geek Buddies -1. Oh my god.
Listen, man. sounds wild. I'm in.
We will get the predator. All right, Don Ronaldo McWhiskey says, I think the tax write-offs has more to do with the lack of faith in other projects with all this dang inflation than it does with how much money we think Coyote versus Acme will make. I don't know, dude. I'm not in those studio conversations. I'm not an accountant. I've never been a studio accountant, so I don't know what it is, but I know for me it radiates a bad message to creatives, in my opinion, even though Coogler and Paul Thomas Anderson just signed deals with them. So what do you guys think of this? Anything?
I mean, I just think in general, at the end of the day, it just gets to as soon as you try and make financial sense out of the creative industry, you're running it everything is a gamble.
It's true. Very true. Jay Blink says, should Sony have given the same treatment to Madame Web as WB did to Batgirl? No. Sadly, no. Right?
I think once you go down the road of greenlighting a movie, you make it as good as you can make it, and then you got to give it a shot.
By the way, I'm seeing this thing in 3 days, and I am very, very interested to see. What if I like it? What am I going to do if I like it? Oh, man.
I'll get really mad and dramatic.
There you go. Marta Von Gray. Hey, Marta says, thanks for helping my day a little brighter and making my day a little brighter and geekier. Thank you, Marta, for letting us. Yeah. Right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Hey.
That's why we're
Ryan says, always wanted to know your guys' thoughts on Foundation. Truly think it's trumping Star Wars and Marvel for me. I did not watch the show. Gentlemen, do you guys watch the show?
So my brother and I watched the first 4 episodes.
Okay.
And it was interesting.
Okay.
But it didn't fully grab me.
Okay.
And then I kind of fell off. But I've heard from people, particularly with season 2, that I should go back and revisit it. And to be fair, I did the same thing with For All Mankind, and it took me a year and a half to get back to it, and now it's one of my favorite shows on TV. So if you think that I should come back to Foundation, I'm super willing to dive back in. I'll probably rewatch the ones that I watched and keep going. But if people are saying that it's worth it and that it's doing sci-fi better than Star Wars and Marvel, I'm in. I'll check it out.
Shannon, have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched the first 2. I really like Jared Harris. But
wait, first 2 episodes or seasons?
First two episodes.
Okay.
But it's a big world, and
Mhm.
you really have to pay attention. It's not something that you can casually throw on, because the whole thing with Lee Pace's character, I was kind of like, okay, so I think I understand what this triumvirate is. But there's a lot of stuff going on that you need to pay careful attention to, and I just wasn't at the time.
Slightly dense show. I think their TV shows are so much better than their movies, man. I don't know why they can't transfer that kind of quality overall to their movies, because the Apple shows are great. Sharon Paula says, super sticker. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate you sending in the love. Always love you supporting our shows, Sharon. Haunted _ Autumn says, the man, the myth, the enigmatic hummer of musical interludes himself, Shannon McClung returns. Huzzah!
Huzzah! Thank you, Haunted Autumn.
Shaunuk Kulhali, longtime viewer, first time donating to my favorite podcast out there.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Very kind. And Sihar says, showing you guys love. Oh, thank you, Sihar.
Also, thank you.
Yeah.
We see you.
Oh God.
We did we miss that?
I know. You said you missed me. Whoa. You gotta miss all of me. You gotta miss all of me.
That's what I always tell the lady. You can't just love part of me. Anthony B says, the media has been hyping the 4 young stars of Dune 2 as this generation's best actors. I love them all, especially Chalamet and Pugh. Do you agree that they are A-listers in their own right, or does their success still depend on finding the right IP? I guess the 4 young stars, right? Florence Pugh, Chalamet, Zendaya, and Austin Butler. I would say they're all A-listers in my book, especially Austin after Elvis. And he's going to have that Bike Riders film coming out with Tom Hardy. Yes, is that right?
Yes.
And Jodie Comer, right?
Definitely Florence Pugh, Zendaya, and Austin Butler.
Chalamet, you're on the fence on?
I'm on the fence after watching Wonka. I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not so sure. Like,
wait, Wonka made $550 million so far, bro. You don't.
I'm not talking about financial success. I'm talking about like he did for that role in particular. He did not have the magic for me.
Okay,
and because Dune, again, having not really read the books. Dune was a little distant, and his performance did not bring me in any closer.
Okay, fair.
They're all A-list. Well, actually, I mean, I think Austin Butler's an A-lister, but I don't know yet. The other 3 are for sure A-listers.
I agree with you. Michael.
Austin Butler, I think did great. I think he's great. I think it's a little weird that he had to hire somebody to help him get rid of that Elvis accent, but I mean, I think he's, in what I've seen him do, he was very good.
Yeah.
But the other 3 have sort of become household names.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think he's quite hit that level, but he very well could in the next year.
Well, I think all the other ones have had a longer head start than he has. Yeah. So he will get there, I think, eventually for sure, Mike. I agree with you. He's the one that's the most questionable of the 4 right now. For A-list status. Cam Chapman says, sending support, appreciate being able to watch you guys live down here. Cheers, gents. Thank you, Cam. Is that down here? You think Australia? Is that what you're thinking? No? Maybe?
I mean, I was assuming it's the UK or Australia, but he said down here.
Yeah.
I thought he meant Long Beach.
Yeah, they're very proper in Long Beach. Cheers, gents.
Quite proper. Anthony V says, any thoughts on Star Trek Picard Season 3 winning Best Science Fiction Series at the Saturn Awards? Kudos to Stuart, Frakes, and Ryan as well. Frakes' acting especially moved me. I can't ask this question on the show with Jeff as much as I love him. That's right, because he doesn't watch Star Trek. Yeah, gentlemen. First of all, I loved it. It was great. Terry Matalas being there, Jerry Ryan, all of them getting so much love. I think Frakes won for his acting a Saturn Award as well. But yeah, it was great to see that. What did you guys think? Did you see that they got those awards?
Yeah, look, I've said it before. I said it on almost every Picard review that we did.
Yeah.
There are certain storylines, arcs in Star Trek that sustain us through all of the cheesy shit that Star Trek puts us through sometimes.
True.
And Picard Season 3 is one of them. It is one of the best seasons of sci-fi television that has ever been.
Yeah.
It's great.
I agree. 100%. That and Strange New World Season 2 was a great 1-2 punch, man. Oh, so good. I am Two Fly Cam says, greetings, Vogel. I'm greatly convinced that Disney and Iger are going to lay off a large amount of animation staff soon. They produced almost all of this Moana movie in Vancouver, and there's rumors they used AI on large portions of the animation to cut costs. What did I tell you? And/or Season 2 has wrapped. We will see. Okay, so we will see peak Star Wars again soon. When it comes to the movies announced for Star Wars, Let's separate. These are two separate ones. So let's deal with that. Vogel, do you want to address that? Because I don't know anything about that. I don't know if Shannon can chime in on this. But what do you think about what he said about large animation staff maybe being laid off here from Disney?
You will see. I mean, I don't know. Look, I think that all studios are doing layoffs right now. My friends at Paramount are all, and my friends at Nickelodeon are all worried because of the like rumors about Paramount layoffs. Like, there's tons of layoffs everywhere. Tons of people that I know in the animation industry are like just not working at the moment because everyone is like there's not a lot of shows going. There's not a lot of stuff happening. So that could very well happen. I don't think that Disney's given up on animation anytime soon. Yeah. And I think with the Moana situation, like the fact that they were making that show largely in Vancouver, you know, I know the Monsters University show or the Monsters Inc. show that they made was made out of house too. Like, so when they're doing the TV shows, they're going out of house, which is not unheard of. Now, to the point of is that animation up to the caliber of what we want to see on the screen? That's going to remain to be seen, and we'll see in November. Yeah. The AI thing I haven't heard, and I'd be curious to know more about because I know that like the same thing came up with like Spider-Man and Sony, where people on Twitter were going crazy about, you know, well, the AI, but it actually ended up that the AI was being used in a way that you should use AI that was making it easier for animators to do stuff. So again, AI as a tool, which is here to stay. There are a lot of uses for AI that will allow you to cut costs and allow animators to focus on the creative stuff that they want to do. And that does not mean, oh my God, AI made this movie. So there are definitely ways that they could be using AI that we might not like, and it could be shitty. So I would want to know more about how the AI was being used before I was cheering it or cursing it.
Fair enough. Well, Shannon, you want to chime in on this? Oh, you want to wait?
No, I think Vogel got it.
I think Vogel did too. I have two Black M also says and or season 2 has wrapped. Yes, we will see. We will see peak Star Wars again soon. When it comes to the movies announced for Star Wars, what are you all most excited for? And do you think Rachel Zegler will be cast in Star Wars soon? She's a rising star that Lucasfilm would like, right? Gentlemen, thoughts on that?
I think everyone's a little nervous about Rachel Zegler at the moment.
Yeah, I think a year ago, maybe, but now she is, But
I mean, the Ballad of Song and Snakes that did a good job at the box office. So
yeah, but that wasn't Rachel Zegler in.
Yeah, fair.
It's less about her performance or how she is in the movies or how her movies do, and more about everything else.
Okay, fair point. All right. Well, what about the Star Wars? Which ones are you guys looking forward to the most?
I mean, like, Lord knows what's going to happen. But the Mangold Jedi origin film is the one that's the most interesting to me.
Oh yeah. I would agree with that. I'm more curious about that one. Michael, any thoughts?
Honestly, the Daisy Ridley movie, the Rey movie.
Oh, okay.
Just because like of everything that I love about Star Wars, and I love a lot of things about it, like I really want to know what comes next.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. I think I agree with that. I think those are the movies that I'm looking forward to the most as well. Zegler, I think there's a possibility for sure for Zegler to be a part of this, because eventually we're going to have to beat back these people. This is my opinion. Like, these people can't rule and decide who is cast in what. You know, we have to eventually beat back this negative, toxic, vitriolic side of Star Wars that is trying to consume Star Wars just so certain people can make money off the hate. And we've got to stop that from happening at some point. Not that you can't express your opinion, but it's become so like you can't cast anybody because they're always going to find excuses for who you cast to denigrate them. And it's just like, you can't be afraid of that.
Anybody really
if you're going to cast Zegler,
but I don't like, look, to be fair, like Rachel Zegler getting cast or not cast, I think it's because not because people online are like, I don't like Rachel Zegler, so casting directors are like, oh, those online fans don't like her, don't touch it. I think it's like she says a bunch of stuff and you're like, she's not great on the carpet.
Oh, that's
like,
fair. Total.
So I don't, just to be fair, I don't actually think that casting directors and executives at studios are going, with the exception of Rise of Skywalker, which was a shit show of them just kind of, okay, let's give them what they want, get Rose Tico out of there. Yeah. But like, aside from that, I don't think that people are going, oh, the toxic fanboys are speaking, we better listen to them.
Okay. All right. I don't know if I agree with you, but I respect your opinion on that. I think everyone's paying attention to social media nowadays. Parker says, I love you guys. I'm overwhelmed with how handsome you all look tonight. Well, those two do for sure. Broen and I are wondering how you'd all fix your least favorite comic book movie. Thank you for the show. We really need the Geek Buddies in times like these. Ooh,
Oh, is that Parker and Broen?
I think so. Yeah.
Ah,
There you go.
from the Flix Capacitor podcast.
Oh, yes. I keep forgetting that they've requested that I should respond to them about coming on the show. I apologize.
I keep forgetting that they've requested that I should respond. Well, I want that on a t-shirt.
It's 2 hours and 25 minutes, man. My mouth is dying.
Well,
So
I will say, look, I
question.
actually think this is a great question.
I do
but
too.
because we are 2 hours and 25 minutes in, I would like to punt this to that's a really good Geek Bite.
Oh, yes. Let's do a Geek Bite on this next week. The idea of how we would fix our least favorite comic book movie. Each of us picks a least favorite comic book movie, and we say how we might fix it. That would be fun. I like that idea. Parker, if you're okay with that, we're going to punt it. Unless Shannon wants to answer it. Are you good?
Now? No. I'm very tired.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move to the last one.
I know I look healthy, but I'm exhausted.
You do. In-law fan said, would love to see the Geek Buddies team up with Dan Murrell for reviewing a movie or a series. Seeing Vogel and Murrell interact on YouTube is on my bucket list. Also, Vogel, have you seen Moana? Was surprised it did not make your favorite summer movies.
You know what? I mean, it did not. Yeah, I guess it didn't make my favorite summer movies, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I watched it. I was on the East Coast when it came out at a big house for 4th of July weekend that was filled with like 30 people. And I had to like find the time when nobody was going to be in the living room, and I locked all the doors so that I could watch it without being interrupted. But I thought it was great. I thought they did a really great job. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think that they actually kind of did some really cool stuff in adapting it from the original comic book. Yeah. That they really changed some stuff that I thought was interesting. So I love it. I'm thrilled that it got nominated for an Academy Award, and I'm a very big fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got to see Moana. I haven't seen it yet. And there you go. All right, let's lock it up there. All right, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. 2.5 hours, and I did not anticipate that. I thought for sure 90 to 2 hours most, but we're very thankful to everybody who sent in Streamlabs and Superchats, and for the over 300 of you who were joining us for almost the entire show. So we thank you very, very much. Real quick, remember to subscribe. Oh, no, wait, I don't handle that on this show. Shannon, what do we have to tell?
Oh boy, it's been a minute. So if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at _geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media and see more of my tan, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey, what do we have to tell him?
It has been a joy hanging out with all of you for these past 2.5 hours. We are almost as long as Killers of the Flower Moon. But here's what you can do for us now that we have done all this for you. You can smash that like button below if you haven't already. You can subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page and check out all the amazing content he's got there. The live chat's been great, but if you are catching us later, leave your comments below. Let us know what you thought of literally everything that we talked about. If you are listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing that you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Yeah, and I can't reiterate this enough what Michael just said. The podcast is so important. Please subscribe wherever you download podcasts. You can listen to our shows all over again. You don't have to listen or see our pretty faces. You can just listen to us. And please patronize the sponsors that we have, BetterHelp and HelloFresh. They're fantastic people who are supporting the show now. So please patronize them as you go along and give them love here as part of the show so we can get more sponsors coming on to the show to sponsor the podcast as well. And big shout out to Realm, who we have our podcast on, for helping us get those sponsors on. So there you go. Just want to throw that out there. All right. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. Go 49ers. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies!